Check with Roger, see if he's good. Thank you, sir. You guys good? All right, there we go. Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment special meeting of March 26, 2024 is now in session. Adequate notice of this meeting as required by the Open Public Meetings Act of 1975 has been provided by the annual notice published in the Home News and Tribune on December 18, 2023, has been posted in the main lobby of the municipal complex on December 18, 2023. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Secretary, roll call, please.
Mr. Bignell? Here. Ms. Shaw?
Here.
Mr. Ayat?
Here.
Mr. Chabra?
Here.
Mr. Patel?
Here.
Mr. Barone?
Here.
Mr. DeVay?
Here.
Mr. Sadaha?
Here.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Here.
And Chairman Kumba?
Here. Madam Secretary, minutes for consideration.
We have minutes of March 19th, 2024 for approval.
To approve. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadata, second by Mr. O'Gorman. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Madam Secretary, resolution for consideration.
Case number Z32, 2023. Z37, 2023. Equistar Chemicals, LP.
What's the board's pleasure?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, second by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam Secretary. We have two announcements. The first is KZ32, 2023, Sanjay Thakur at 38 Jonathan Drive. It was improper noticing, so renotice is required. And then secondly, I'd like to welcome back Mr. Dave to the board. We've missed you, and everybody came out to welcome you back. So,
Thank you.
all right. So good evening, ladies and gentlemen. This is a special meeting of the Township of Edison Zoning Board of Adjustment. This board is composed of Edison Township residents appointed by municipal council who volunteer their time and service to the board. Municipal land use law requires that members successfully complete a land use training course administered by the Department of Community Affairs. This board also holds in-house training conducted by our board professionals. The zoning board abides by the provisions of the municipal land use law in addition to our board's bylaws. The zoning board is a quasi-judicial land use board which differs from the township planning board. Under the municipal land use law, board members are required to be impartial and are not allowed to discuss any case prior to its consideration before the board at a hearing. All applicants will have the opportunity to present their case before the board, with the opportunity for board members and board professionals to question the applicant and their witnesses. At the conclusion of the applicant's presentation of their case, the case will be open to the public. Residents within 200 feet of the subject property will be heard, followed by residents from outside of 200 feet. All residents will be sworn in. They'll provide their name and address, and they'll be given 6 minutes to comment on the application being considered without the opportunity for a rebuttal. Residents may ask questions of the applicant's professionals, and board professionals. The board requests that these questions are asked prior to any comments being made on the application. Once commentary begins, the resident's timer will begin. The applicant will be allowed for the opportunity for cross-examination of their witnesses. Under the law, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary that is repetitive or is an attempt to filibuster the board. Further, the chair is allowed to stop any commentary that is irrelevant to the case or prohibited from the board's consideration. Once the public portion is closed, all public comment is ended unless new testimony is presented by the applicant. Following the closure of the public portion, the applicant will have the right of summation on their application. Following summation, the case will go to the board for a decision. This procedure has been followed by the board and is similar to the procedures followed by boards of adjustment statewide. Municipal land use law requires the board to engage in a balancing act and is not required to strictly apply township ordinances, zoning plan, or master plan. As a board of adjustment, variances are granted when appropriately necessary following all legal considerations. As has been the case with prior boards, this board will see where we are at if we're still in session around 10:30 p.m. I ask that all applicants, professionals, and residents show respect to each other and be civil throughout all proceedings. I ask that you withhold applause, booing, or interrupting of anyone while they are speaking. The chair will not tolerate any outbursts by applicants, professionals, or the public. Further, since most cases are being recorded by a court reporter, I ask that speakers do not speak over one another. Madam Secretary, first case on the agenda, please.
I'd just like to announce that Mr. O'Bara is also in attendance.
Good evening, Mr. Barra. I missed you during my little diatribe there. No problem.
Case number Z2, 2024, Abidit Jait at 111 Livingston Ave. Applicant is seeking bulk and use D variances to demolish and construct a two-story single-family home. The following standards have not been met. Max FAR permitted is 25%, proposed is 29.6%. Maximum lot coverage required is 15%, proposed is 16.5%. Lot width permitted is 100 feet, proposed is 97.92 feet. Affected property is located in the RA zone designated as block number 546.26, lot number 8 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
If the applicant could please approach the table.
Are you going to testify, sir?
Yeah.
Would you kindly raise your hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
State your full name for the record.
It's Abhijit Gite.
Okay, and I understand you have an expert with you, right?
Yes.
Sir, you're going to testify too. Raise
Yes,
your
I am.
right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And state your full name for the record.
It's Paul James Fletcher, Fletcher.
Mr. Fletcher, if you just give a summary of qualifications.
Yes, I'm a licensed professional engineer and professional planner in the state of New Jersey. I'm the principal of Fletcher Engineering and have been for 32 years. I've appeared in front of numerous boards of adjustments and planning boards throughout New Jersey, approximately 50.
Mr. Fletcher, you've been before us a number of times. The only question I'll ask if your license are current and in good standing.
Yes, they are.
Great, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. I'm here today not just as a
Sir, if you could bring the microphone podium a little closer to you. There we go. Thank you.
said good evening, everybody. I'm here today not just as a petitioner, but also as a long-term resident of Edison. We have the place that we have, me and my family have called home for the last 10 years. As we gather here today, I'm reminded of the guiding principle of Edison, let there be light, which for me not just signifies like enlightenment and progress, but also like warmth and support of the community. So our request for variance is, born out of simple yet profound family needs. Firstly, my daughter, who goes to the same school, who goes to the same school in the same school district, has grown up in Edison. She has developed long-lasting friendships here, and she has excelled in, obviously education. Thanks in no small parts to the excellent education curriculum that Edison offers, as well as like nurturing community that we have to offer. Secondly, our parents, our siblings frequently visit us, to create and share personal memories and personal moments. In summary, I respectfully request everyone to consider our request, which is more than a structural change. Like this will definitely illuminate our lives in a more personal way. Thank you.
Does the board have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none, Mr. Fletcher, you may proceed.
Thank you. Yes, the subject property, 111 Livingston Avenue, block 546.26, lot 8. It's located in the RA zone. It's on the north side of Livingston Avenue. Currently improved by a small, modest home. The applicant proposes to demolish that and construct a new two-story single-family dwelling. Lot size is 15,536 square feet, where the requirement in the RA zone is 20,000 square feet, so we're undersized by about 4,500 square feet. The other existing nonconformity is lot width. 100 feet is required in the RA zone, 97.92 feet is existing. I believe the board can grant those two variances based on the A1, or sorry, C1 hardship criteria. There is no land on either side to widen the property, nor to increase its area. To show the consistency of these two variances or nonconformities, I prepared an exhibit from the Edison tax map. I'll just distribute some.
You could just give it to Rachel. Thank you, Mr. Fletcher.
We're going to mark this as A1.
Yes, the exhibit is color-coded. There's two radii. One is at 200, the other 300 feet from the subject property, which is highlighted in blue. The orange highlighted lots are non-conforming to the zone. All the ones facing Livingston Avenue are substandard with regards to lot area. There's two on the side street that are substandard with regard to lot width. I didn't do percentages, but clearly all the lots on our side of Livingston are of similar size and shape as the subject property. And it's clearly consistent with the existing neighborhood pattern of development. The proposed home meets all the not all, but most of the bulk requirements. It meets the front yard, rear yard, side yard setback requirements, meets the height requirement, meets the RSIS standards for off-street parking. There are two variances being created. One is for lot coverage by building. We're at 16.5% versus the 15% that's allowed in the RA zone. The second variance, which is a use variance, it's actually a D4 variance for exceeding the floor area ratio. 25% is allowed in the RA zone. We're proposing 29.6. These two variances are created and proposed because the lot is undersized. If the lot was actually conforming at 20,000, there would be no variance required for lot coverage. We'd be at 12.8, and floor area ratio would be at 0.23. I believe that the lot coverage of 16.5 or 1.5% is de minimis in nature and would not be noticed by the neighborhood or traveling public driving by. The criteria for the FAR variance it's different than a D1 or a true use variance where there's not a permitted use. In fact, the residential nature of the application is a permitted use in the zone. So the criteria to be proven is that can the lot handle the extra FAR? And I would point to the fact that we're complying with all the side, rear, height, and front yard setback requirements. So we're maintaining the requirement for open space and air. That is one of the purposes and goals of the municipal land use law. The size of home is 4,500 square feet, which is desirable. And as the applicant has mentioned, it's to enable his home or his family to have a comfortable new house. It also will provide room for their extended families when their parents visit and relatives visit. With regard to the negative criteria, I see no adverse effect to the neighborhood or to the master plan or the zone plan. And for those reasons, I believe that the board could grant these variances that are requested.
Thank you, Mr. Fletcher. Does anybody have any questions for Mr. Fletcher?
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dave?
are you putting any basement?
Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes.
Separate entrance in the basement?
No.
No kitchen in the basement?
No.
Not future plan to add kitchen in the basement?
No plans.
No.
What about attic?
No attic.
No finished attic?
No finish attic.
No permanent stair to the attic?
No.
And no elevator go to the attic?
No.
So it's unfinished space?
Yeah, it's unfinished.
All right. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dave. Any other questions?
Yes, Mr. Chair, I do have a question. Mr. Fletcher, I do have a question. Based off your professional testimony, you stated that all setbacks and such are met. Would it be distinct that this property would match the existing criteria in the community and the neighborhood?
Well, the existing neighborhood is our older homes, so this is one of the new ones. Although there was a recent application in front of this board for a home in, I believe it was 91 Livingston, which was granted. So it matches the setback requirements and matches the neighborhood in that respect.
Understood. So just the hardship is that the lot is undersized given the zone.
Yes.
Makes sense. Thank you.
Any other questions for Mr. Fletcher?
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman?
you said there's a basement?
Yes, unfinished.
Is it on the drawings?
Architecturals,
I don't see it.
I would think.
And, I don't think we are planning to kind of do anything, so.
The section shows that they have intention to put the basement, if you look at the section.
Mr. Chairman, we need what they're going to be doing. They're going to say they're going to put a basement on it. We have no information on a basement.
We will stipulate that it's the applicant's intention to have a basement. He has no intention to finish it. There will be no outside entrance. It'll be strictly inside.
Would you agree to that as a condition?
Absolutely.
Okay. Mr. Vice Chairman, are you satisfied?
Yes.
All right, any other questions from the board? All right, seeing none. Mr. Fletcher, do you have anything to add?
That's our case.
Okay, all right, so we'll now go out to the public. If there's anyone within 200 feet of subject property wanting to be heard, if you're within 200 feet of this subject property, you've received a notice via certified mail. Seeing none, we will go outside of 200 feet of subject property. Anyone wanting to be heard, please approach. Seeing none. Can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close. Second.
Motion made by Mr. Sadata, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed, and I'll go to the board for decision.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dave.
I'll make a motion to approve this application. Applicant will comply with the engineer's report, with the caveat that there will not be finished basement. There is no separate entrance to the basement. There is no kitchen in the basement, unfinished attic.
this application, it is a de minimis request. It is not a detriment to the neighborhood. It enhances the neighborhood, not out of character with the neighborhood, and there is no objection from neighbors.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dave, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
No on the motion.
And Chairman Kumba?
Yes on the motion.
1, 2,
Okay,
3.
you're approved. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Sit here or we go there?
I heard she's looking. I've got it. No worries.
Yes, the one is done.
That's yours or that's mine? Huh? This is mine.
That's yours? That's yours? Are you kidding me? This is really yours? I got it. I got it. No, no, no.
Let this here his signature first, because he has to be the first. Witness.
All right, Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Case Z10, 2023, Edison Muslim Community Center, 157 and 159 Plainfield Ave. Applicant is seeking bulk and use D variances for an addition and alterations to the existing dwelling to convert into a house of worship. Standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan. This is not a permitted use in this zone. Maximum lot coverage is 40%, proposed is 98.4%. Number of parking spaces is 54, proposed is 42 spaces. Affected property is located in the RB zone, designated as block number 161.13, lot number 1.14 and 1.13 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening.
Good evening. My name is John DeLuca from the law firm Boris Golden Foley, Vignola, Hyman, and Stahl on behalf of the applicant Edison Muslim Community Center. I do have a few handouts that will assist in our presentation, so if I could approach the board and...
You could just give them to Rachel and she'll distribute.
Perfect, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Some of them were the last two plans. Everything else will need to be marked.
Okay, which one?
Okay, so these are packets for the board.
Okay.
I'll need to know if it was or wasn't, and then mark it accordingly.
Just so you know, the only that were
The last two?
are
right, so as you go through it, we'll. Yeah. Okay, because I'm not gonna mark them just yet. Okay. So you can pass them out. Got it. Thank you very much. Yeah.
Thank you. We got the ones in the back. Ones in the back.
All right, thank you. Again, my name is John DeLuca. I'm here on behalf of the Edison Muslim Community Center. The property is located at 157 Plainfield Avenue. This is a site plan and variance application. The entire site is just over 29,000 square feet. Two single-family homes with several accessory sheds or garages currently exist on the site. We are proposing a house of worship. One of the existing dwellings will be renovated and expanded to allow the construction of a 3-story worship center. The building will include a basement and 2 upper floors for a prayer hall and other accessory spaces. We're proposing a 2-way driveway for access to and from Plainfield Avenue. And with the inclusion of electric vehicle parking, our parking count we're proposing is 48 parking spaces. For this, we submit to the board that we require relief in the form of minor, preliminary, and final site plan approval. D3 use variance, this is deviation from conditional use standards, as well as bulk variance relief for minimum lot area, minimum lot width, maximum impervious coverage, and required parking.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. McDonough.
if I can interrupt.
Please.
This is not a conditional use. It's not a permitted use in this zone. I've been round and round. It doesn't call it out as a conditional use. It says that it's permitted if it's provided with 3 acres, which it is not. So it's not permitted. So it's a D1 variance. Let's start off on the right track here. It's not a conditional use variance.
Mr. DeLuca, I would agree. This is a D1. It's not a D3. It is not conditional. You need 3 acres. Without the 3 acres, it is a D1.
Okay, all right, my misstatement.
And then
It's a
one other correction. The gentleman's corrected in the size for minor site plan, but we don't grant minor site plans. It's preliminary and final here in Edison. We're going to have to update the ordinance at some point, but we only grant preliminary or final site plan. Thank you.
Mr. McDonough.
All right. My apologies for the misstatements. I don't intend to dispute any of that. I fully agree with your professional's assessments. We're located in the RB zone. This is a single-family residential zone. And we just talked about what uses are typically permitted there. In terms of our presentation, I intend to present the testimony of 4 witnesses. First, you'll hear from Mr. Basir Akhtar. He's my fact witness. He's a representative of the organization. Second, you'll hear from John DuPont, who is our professional engineer and also a professional planner. Then you'll hear from Ashraf Ragab. He's our licensed architect. And then you also hear from Qazi Masood, an expert in the field of traffic engineering. So if the board doesn't have any housekeeping items or corrections or anything else that needs to be placed on the record before I get to my witnesses, then I'll proceed and ask my first witness to be sworn in.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. DeLuca? I wrote it down. Thank you. Seeing none, you may proceed.
Thank you.
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And could you kindly state your full name for the record?
Basir Akhtar. It is spelled as Baseer. Last name Akhtar, Akhtar.
Thank you. Mr. Akhtar, what is your position with the Edison Muslim Community Center?
I'm one of the board member there.
So you're familiar with the operations and the plans for this establishment?
Yes, I do.
Okay. And how long have you been associated with Edison Muslim Community Center?
Around 5 to 6 years.
Okay. And can you tell me what is your proposal for the property?
So basically, the entire proposal is just to make the house of worship. In Islamic, we call it as a mosque.
All right. And aside from prayer or religious services, are you proposing any other activities on the property?
We only intend to do some religious education only on the weekends, which will not conflict with any of the other prayer schedule.
Okay. And when will your prayer services be offered?
So our daily prayer schedule is basically 5 times a day. I think we already probably you see the details about all the 5 different prayers and the timings in there, which the handout which is given by Mr. DeLuca.
All right, so my client has referenced the document that's titled Edison Muslim Community Center Activities. So this is a schedule. If you could just describe the document and if we could kindly mark it.
Mr. DeLuca, I'm going to mark that as, this is the Edison Muslim Community Center activities. I'm going to mark that as A1.
Thank you.
So I'm just going to elaborate a little bit about this document here. As you can see that there are 5 daily prayers, which is basically from Monday all the way to Sunday. The only additional prayer you will see is on Friday. In fact, it's not additional prayer. It is just a mandatory prayer which takes a little bit extra amount of time compared to any other prayer on that time. So each prayer usually takes about 15 minutes, and they are into different intervals of time. The first one starts at around 5 o'clock. Again, these are not the exact numbers. I just want to clarify that. These are, all the prayer timings are basically calculated based on the sunset and sunrise times. So this 5 o'clock prayer again goes by what time is the sunrise on that particular day, and it varies in summer and winter. Then the second prayer usually falls towards some midday. So we point it out as 1 p.m. prayer. And then the third prayer basically falls right before the sunset. The fourth prayer falls in right after the sunset. And then the fifth prayer basically goes in about an hour after the sunset. The only prayer which I would like to little bit emphasize more, and I think probably everybody have more concern, is a Friday prayer, which may cause a little bit additional traffic. Other than that, and then we already have a very detailed plan that how we're going to handle the situation. We can go into more detail if anybody have more questions about it.
And I'm sure we'll get to that with some of our other witnesses. But for you, I'd like to know, what's the maximum number of congregants or prayers you expect to see for that Friday prayer?
Not more than 200 at any given point of time.
Okay. Now, do you expect all of these 200 individuals to drive to the site?
No, and we do have some underlying fact around it. We do identified about 80 residents who live within 10 minutes walking distance from this proposed location. We do have their names, addresses. They are already our current congregants. So just trying to be conservative, we assume only 50% of those congregants might be walking to the place. So that is, we are considering only 40 people out of 80 who might be walking to this proposed location for the prayers.
All right, thank you. And is there anything else you want to share with the board before we move on to the next witness?
Sure. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to talk a little bit more about the project. I'm not going to take too much of your time. The intent of this mosque is not only limited to only as a house of worship, but basically this organization is already involved in different community activities. So this particular location is going to be served as a fullest to any person comes from any religion, from any ethnicity, who feels comfortable and seek help here. This organization is already serving past few years in a similar manner by having food drives, food pantries, soup kitchens, winter drive clothing, etc. Just for the record, we do have the data available also. In past 2 weeks, we distributed about 20 families, needy families, a month-long groceries, and we have the data who we provided to. So, and this is all free of cost. It is all the charitables we get from different organizations and from different individuals. In addition to it, just wanted to bring it up that during COVID-19, we did 2 food drives in the township of Edison. They both were right here in Lake Papiani. One was in May and the second one was in June of 2020. We actually distributed 40-foot containers of food that goes out to like about 900 to 1,000 families. Some of the township officials was also involved with us and helping us out and doing this great work. So in conclusion, I just wanted to emphasize that this establishment of a mosque in Edison is not just a matter of religious freedom here. It is a testament to our commitment to diversity, inclusion, and mutual respect. I urge you to consider our request with an open heart and mind, recognizing the positive impact it will have to our community and the township of Edison. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Akhtar. I have no further questions unless the board has some questions of the fact witness.
Thank you so much, Mr. Akhtar. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Akhtar?
What is the current use of the premise now?
The current use is, the property is basically for no use. We are just waiting for the town to approve it.
So there is no prayer, nothing is happening?
Nothing is happening on this location. We are actually renting out a space in a synagogue on 91 Jefferson Boulevard, where we are conducting our daily prayers.
Now, the other question is, how would you control that you will have only 200 congregant any given time? How would you control the crowd?
So as of right now, the place where we are conducting the prayers, the maximum crowd we have there is about 90 to 100, and we have about walking crowd there is 10 to 15. So there is no way that first of all we are reaching it to 200 benchmark even at that location. Even if there is, we do have a plan that we can split our Friday prayer, because that is the only prayer where we are expecting more people to come in, because it is one of the mandatory prayer. We can split the prayer into, if any time we feel that the parking is becoming an issue, if the building size is becoming an issue, we can always split the prayer into 2 sessions, into 3 sessions if needed.
My biggest concern is you have 1,293 square feet for the Jan's Prayer Hall. 1,293 is a small 2-bedroom apartment building, basically, that many square feet. You're trying to put 129 men.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Bino?
if I could interrupt. The number of people that are going to be allowed in that building will be done by the building code, not by the zoning code. So whatever they're allowed per square foot, per person, it'll be calculated and it'll be put on their building permit. They won't be able to exceed that number.
I get it. I'm just questioning what they submitted.
His number might be they were on the property at some time or things of that nature, but, so you may see some people on the property, but there's a maximum number that the building code, and then they be in violation of the fire codes and everything else, so we really don't want to go there.
Okay,
All right, sir?
all right.
Mr. Bigdell, do we have that number yet?
It'll get calculated by the building department when they submit for their renovation plans and stuff.
All right, so the occupancy would be based on the building code, but I'm just going to keep on asking the questions. And then you have a ladies' prayer hall, 870 square foot, the small studio apartment. And you're trying to put 87 people to prayer. This is something I think that how would you be able to control the crowd there? Beside the parking, beside anything else, it looks like the facility is small. All right, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Dubey. Any other questions from the board for Mr. Akhtar? Mr. Akhtar, is there any, after any of the prayer sessions, is there any fellowship afterwards?
I'm sorry?
I'm looking at just like, is there any fellowship afterwards, after prayer? Is there any activities after prayer, or is it simply, is it people come in for prayer and then go home?
Basically, it is only for prayer. If there are other activities, if any community events we may want to have, we usually rent out other bigger banquet halls. We already have few events at KKWC and Roosevelt Park, and we did a couple of events where we expect a bigger crowd. We go to some bigger places.
Okay. And then your proposed schedule, so the earliest time that would begin prayer would begin is 5 a.m.?
That is the approximate time.
So if there were hours, so you'd estimate maybe like 4:30 people would begin arriving?
Not really. I mean, these are the prayers where we, even right now, we not more than 10 people attending these prayers.
Okay. Okay. And then evening prayers, so 8 p.m., in the summertime, usually sunsets a little before 9, correct?
Correct. So like probably it's gonna fall out like somewhere around 9-ish.
9 o'clock, okay. All right. Okay. All right, thank you very much.
Mr. Chairman.
Mr. Sada?
Mr. Akhtar, you said soup kitchen. You're going to have a kitchen also in this building?
So we do have a soup kitchen here in this building, but currently there is another organization in Newark. That name is KDWC. I can, if anybody is interested, we can share more details around it. And we do collaborate for the soup kitchen activities with them.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Sada. Any other questions for Mr. Akhtar? Mr. Brown?
Mr. Chair, your prayers start at 5, and what happens from 6 to 12?
Basically nothing.
But are the premises open?
Premises usually open, but usually we probably have a security or someone to keep an eye, but there is no activities happening during that time.
Okay. Can you give an estimate of, like, when there's nothing happening, how few people might just randomly
So
asking the question?
usually when nothing happening, we usually have our cleaning people get there to keep the place, cleaned up. If there's any perishables need to be refilled, like just basically just to keep up the place and do some housekeeping work during those times.
And in regards to the soup kitchen, is there food being consumed on the premises, or it's taken out of the
Taken
building?
out.
So no food is served in the building?
Not right now, nothing.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Brown. And Mr. Sada?
Mr. Akhtar, I just have another question. Like you said Friday about 200, right? What about the festivals? How much traffic you're expecting you have some?
Correct. So if any point of time we have a people are gathering, usually even today, that because we have to do some different arrangements for the programs, so we usually take RSVP from the community that how many people we are expecting it. So we usually have a good amount of count upfront. So even for the bigger festival, if anytime we feel that we are not able to handle the crowd on this location, we always have an option to move out. And that's what we do today also.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Ms. Chhabra?
For the storage room downstairs, do you have any intentions of finishing it, or what's the storage room used for in the basement?
Right now, if we are proposing it as a storage room, there is no plan in a short term to finish it. But down the line, if there's a need arises, we'll come back to the board. We ask your permission. If it will be allowed and meet all the building codes, we can proceed.
Okay, at this time, is it going to be used for any activities?
No activities there.
Okay, all right.
Thank you. Any other questions? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Akhtar.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Our next witness will be John Dupont, our site engineer. He's over here.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
John P. DuPont.
Mr. Dupont, if you just give a summary of your qualifications.
Certainly. I am a licensed professional engineer and planner in the state of New Jersey. For the past 25 years, I've served as the Borough of Carteret Planning and Zoning Board engineer. I've been through boards throughout the state, including numerous times in front of this board, as both a planner and engineer. Qualifications all in good standing, all current.
And you're looking to be accepted as both a planner and engineer?
That is correct.
Okay. All right. Without objection, you may proceed.
Mr. Dupont, what can you tell us about the engineering plans you designed for this project?
Okay, so what I have on the board here is sheet 4 of 9 of your submitted packet. Might be the best plan to kind of give an overview. So the existing property is 29,076 square feet. It contains currently 2 framed single-family dwellings and several accessory buildings. The area between the buildings is currently paved, and the entire back lot is broken up asphalt and gravel. The property does have one existing violation. The minimum front yard setback of 25 feet is not being met. Currently, the closest building is 157. The front yard setback is 22.5 feet, so there's one existing violation. So what the applicant is looking to do is convert the site into a house of worship. The existing dwelling at 157, to the right as you're looking at the property, that dwelling gets expanded and converted into a 3-level house of worship. The single-family home to the left of the site, which is the north site, remains unchanged. There will be a basement and there'll be 2 floors of prayers. The building will also include classrooms, bathrooms, and some conference room space. The building will front on Plainfield Avenue, and the rear of the property will be improved to provide 48 parking spaces. Again, the rear of the parking lot, where it's parking now, we're proposing a complete new parking lot back there, lighting, buffering, and we'll go into a couple of details of it. So places of worship are not permitted with the zone due to bulk requirements. So we are asking for a use variance. In addition, there's several bulk variances we're asking for. Minimum lot area for the house of worship use is 3 acres. Our site is 0.67 acres. The minimum lot width is 200 feet. Our current lot width is 150. Maximum impervious coverage, 40% maximum allowed. A little unusual. We have 98.4% according to your calculation. But I just want to give a little explanation of this from an engineering standpoint. The reason why the number is so high, the entire rear parking lot, we've used porous pavement. So your township's correct. It's a drivable, regulated surface. It counts in impervious coverage according to your definition. But the reality is impervious coverage, one of the big items, one of the big concerns about impervious coverage is you want to limit stormwater runoff. We were conscientious about that in the beginning. I'm going to show you how many square feet reduction in impervious coverage we have here. Reduction in stormwater runoff leaving the site just by our proposed building. And parking spaces, 60 spaces required, 48 spaces proposed. In that 48 spaces, we do have 3 ADA spaces and 8 electric vehicle charging stations. And as we said, we do need the use variance because you don't meet those bulk requirements in the ordinance. So expanding the existing dwelling at 157, second dwelling remains unchanged. We do have the 48 park spaces on site. Porous pavement, lit according to your township standards. We have two sides of the property. The front is obviously Plainfield Avenue. To the south, we have the Wick Shopping Plaza. To the north side of the property is a residential. There's 3 residential homes there. It's a residential neighborhood. So we have a significant buffer there. And we also have the rear of the property is wooded. So along the northern side and the eastern side of the property, we have proposed an 8-foot high board-on-board fence and a 3-foot planted buffer strip. We understand the importance of buffering the residential property from our parking area. I think we've done that very well. There's a proposed enclosed dumpster, completely screened. Again, handicap spaces with handicap accessibility. We had lighting according to your dark sky standards, we'll meet that, and drainage. So because we used porous pavement here, we're showing an 18,000 square foot reduction in impervious surface. So we are going to significantly reduce the drainage from the site, thinking we make a significant improvement just by that technique alone. The apron had board on fronts, heavy screening. So the next thing I want to talk about, we do have professional staff letters from Bignell Planning and from DNR. So Mr. Bignell, his last letter was January 10th, 2024. I think we could comply with everything, but there's a couple comments I think we should talk about. Our traffic engineer is going to talk about traffic flow for the site, so we'll leave that to him. But Mr. Bignell did ask if the rear parking area is curbed. It's not. It's porous pavement. We don't want it curbed. So we don't think the word's getting there. So we don't want to curb that. The angle of the parking and the aisleway.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr.
our latest review is March 21st, so.
Oh, I didn't get that.
Yeah, so here,
I'm sorry, I didn't see that one.
it just cleans up.
Anything outstanding that I needed to? Okay, thank you for that. The other thing I wanted to touch base
Mr.
on.
Dupont, can we just go point by point, just with Mr. Bignell, just the way we don't get lost in the shuffle here. So you had said that the curb lines in the rear of the parking.
Yeah, the rear parking area is not curbed.
Okay, Mr. Bignell.
I certainly will.
It makes it a whole lot easier to go through the report.
11A must submit approvals for Middlesex County Planning Board's field soil. I completely agree.
B was answered by the first witness.
B was, okay. Lots shall be combined via plat or deed. I assume we're going to do deed, Mr. Attorney? There you go.
Yes.
The proposed north of the dwelling, the north dwelling will remain unmodified. No changes at all to the dwelling to the north. I think perhaps the applicant could talk about who's going to live in that, but that remains unchanged. Traffic, that's E, 11E. We'll have our traffic engineer address that. We will also have the traffic engineer address F, talking about parking spaces. Parking lot needs to show additional design details. Angles of parking spaces, we've done that. We've shown the angles of the spaces, the depth of the spaces, the aisle widths. I think all fully compliant with your township standards. But we'll certainly comply with Mr. Bignell has a concern.
Can you go back to F? The last sentence in F, how will the parking at the WIC Center help the parking overall?
I think our traffic guy is going to address that as well.
Very good.
Clarify the impervious coverage calculations. That's where in my calculation of impervious, I pulled out the porous pavement, went down to only 24%. Your ordinance is clear. We have to ask for a variance for 98% because porous pavement is a regulated surface. It counts to your impervious coverage. So Mr. Bignell is right about that. Occupancy number, the applicant, I think, talked about that, the occupancy numbers. We have provided J is a fully screened trash enclosure, has been provided in the rear, fully screened. All landscaping areas, according to Kate, will be irrigated. There's a note on the plan, complete irrigation. The site abuts a residential dwelling and needs to be provided a substantial 10-foot deep buffer along the property line. Buffer may be reduced to 5 feet along the south and the rear property lines, and the buffer should contain an 8-foot high fence. So we do have an 8-foot high board-on-board fence to the north and the east of the property along the residential properties. We only got a 3-foot wide planting buffer strip. So we're going to need a relief on that design waiver.
Well, I only say 5 feet so that the plants live. But if you're going to irrigate them, I think that'll be a help.
Okay.
So I have no problem with the 5.
That's great.
The reduction from the 5.
M talks about the curbing along the rear. It is not going to be curbed. And the board should note that house of worship, because they facilitate free exercise of religion or inherently beneficial. I'll get to inherently beneficial in my planning testimony. Applicants should provide documentation about pipeline buffering requirements. If approved, we will comply with the pipeline buffering requirements. Any proposed signs? I don't think there is any at this moment, but our applicant could confirm that for us before we. And I think that's it for the Bignell letter.
Yeah, the number 12 is for your planning testimony when you get done.
Yep.
Okay.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Mr. Bignell, you're satisfied?
I'm satisfied, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you very much.
Now,
Mr.
the last DNR letter, I'm sorry, there you go.
Go ahead, you may proceed.
I'm sorry, the last DNR letter.
I just want to make sure you had the microphone ready to rock.
Okay. I think the last DNR letter is January 16th.
That's correct.
Okay. So we've read that letter. We can comply with everything, but I do want to hit a couple of those items. 3.5 talks about the need for a loading space. We don't need one or require one, so we like not to put one in. It would just be a waste of space for us. 5.0 talks about the need for drainage calculations. We will certainly supply that. We've had some impervious numbers on there. We know the answer to this, and we'll certainly supply drainage calculations for DNR's approval. 8.2, we respectfully request a design waiver of the fiscal impact study because we're not bringing in new housing. I think we can get a waiver on that, hopefully. And 8.4 talks about wetlands. There's a letter I hope you have. Eastern States Environmental was hired by the applicant, and in April 13th of 2022, did a wetlands investigation study. Their investigation came back that there is no wetlands within 150 feet of the property. There are some farther into the woods, but that no, it's intermediate resource and no buffer will reach our property, so no restrictions. And I think that completes my engineering testimony. If the board has any questions.
Wait, Mr. O'Barrow.
Thank you for that testimony, Chairman. Subject to review of that wetlands document, assuming that it states exactly what Mr. Dupont has represented, we would take no objection to that. We do request some additional information for the impervious surface and the soils information, but he's represented that he will provide that information as a part of any board action, so that we're satisfied with that. And I believe the traffic engineer will speak to the commentary that we're looking for in section 2 regarding parking and vehicle movement on site. So we would be satisfied with his testimony.
Thank you, Mr. O'Barrow.
Mr. Chairman, if I may, I believe that the wetlands evaluation needs to be marked as A2.
Michelle.
Which document is that?
So that's Eastern States Environmental Associates Incorporated. It's, I don't see it.
April 22nd, I believe.
Date, April 22nd.
Okay, so that will
Yeah, April 22nd, 2022, April 13th, 2022. This evaluation was conducted for the property.
So that's going to be marked as A2.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Dupont, do you have anything to add before I go to the board?
No, that's it.
Okay, all right, we'll go to the board for questions. Board have any questions of Mr. Dupont with regard to his engineering testimony? Mr. Dupont, I have a question. On Mr. O'Barrow's report 8.2, with the waiver request for fiscal impact statement, can you just give me some reasoning as to why?
Yeah, I think the fiscal impact requirements of your ordinance talks to housing developments and incorporating new school children, people into the community. This is not a housing development at all, so I don't think it really applies in this case.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Dupont in regard to the engineering testimony? Seeing none. You can switch over to planning.
Thank you. For our next witness, if I could have our architect come forward, Ashraf Ragab.
Sir, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name.
Ashraf Ragab,
If you could just say it into the microphone, sir, just.
First name Ashraf, last name Ragab, R-A-G-A-B.
If you could spell your first name for the court reporter, please.
A-S-H-R-A-F.
Great, thank you. And you could bring the podium closer to you this way you don't have to lean over, you'd be more comfortable. And sir, if you could just give us a summary of your qualifications?
Yes, graduated from City College of New York in 1994, Bachelor of Architecture, licensed in the state of New Jersey since 2001, principal of Hamrock Design Studio since 2001.
And your license are current and in good standing?
Yes, it is.
Thank you very much. You may proceed.
Thank you. Good evening. So, what we're proposing is an addition to an existing structure. There is a shed in the place of that addition that is being removed, and the existing structure is being joined with the addition and enlarged into a house of worship, 2 stories plus basement. The existing use of the residence, which is the existing dwelling, will cease to be. All the residential units will be removed, and it will be replaced with accessory uses to the prayer halls that are being proposed in the addition. So the addition will have a basement of storage space, and then a first floor of men's prayer area, and a second floor of ladies' prayer area or women's prayer area. The accessory uses for it, which is toilets, some conference offices, and classrooms for weekend classes are being proposed in the existing structure. And there will be interconnections between the two, not always at the same level. So you can see from the section that sometimes the prayer halls, because they require higher ceiling, will be higher than the second floor of the residence. The first floor will be aligned. The basement will be lower than the existing because we're trying to achieve higher ceilings in these three levels. The occupancy, there was a question about the occupancy of the prayer halls. They're basically based on 10 square foot per person, which is people when they pray, they line up in lines. Each person takes approximately 2 foot wide by 5 foot long, so it's about 10 square foot for each person. So it's a pretty accurate number based on the square footage of the space. And there is no aisles, there's no spaces or stages or anything like this. People simply line up from the beginning of the space to the end of it. Same thing for the women's prayer area. The occupancy number, pretty much we're showing 129 plus 87, which is 216. And we believe that this number should be the maximum occupancy of the building because of the fact that when the prayer areas are occupied, no activities are taking place in any other part of the building. And that's normal for any Muslim house of worship. Once the call of prayer is given, any other uses will cease and everybody will move to the prayer hall to conduct the prayers. After the prayer is done, which usually for the daily 5 times is about 15 minutes, then any other activities can resume, but then most people will disperse. And then the third sheet and final sheet is proposed elevations, which incorporates some contemporary design of Islamic motifs and simple materials of stucco on all sides and some masonry base. And that's about it.
And just for the sake of the board, in terms of the visual aesthetic, you also have a 3D color rendering of that sheet 3, what that would look like, if that could be marked as well.
This is
Yes,
this color rendering, is that the one you're referring to?
Correct.
So that will be A3.
thank you. And I have no further questions.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Raghav? Any other questions? All right. Thank you very much. Mr. Bignon?
Just make sure that the building plans that are submitted are sealed, signed and sealed.
The building plans?
Have to be signed and sealed if you're a professional architect.
Yeah, well, I am a professional architect, but I'm hired as a consultant, so I will be signing and sealing
Whoever
the
submits the
plans.
plans has to have a seal on them. Architect has
Yes.
to sign and seal the plans so you can get a building permit, so just,
Yes, the plans
We,
will be
we
signed.
of course consent to that.
okay.
Yes.
Great.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Raghav.
Thank you.
Mr. DeLuca?
So our fourth witness will be Quasi Masood, our traffic engineer. If he could please be sworn in to testify. He's sitting to my left.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
My first name is Quasi, Quazi. Last name Masood, Masood.
Mr. Masood, if you could just give a summary of your qualifications, please.
Sure. As I said, I have over 20 years of experience in transportation engineering. I have a master's degree in transportation engineering. My license is current, and I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New York, New Jersey, along with 4 other states. And also, I do have a certification as professional traffic operations engineer.
Great, we'll accept you. And if you could bring the podium closer to you, it'll just make you more comfortable.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, you can. Perfectly. Thank you so much.
Do you want me to repeat?
No, I got you. I was just make it easier just as you go.
Sure.
Just continue speaking.
Sure.
So, Mr. Masood, did you perform any counts in connection with this project?
Yes, I did. And also, if you could look at the handout that we circulated, it's called the traffic volume count near the proposed site.
It's this document?
Which has a picture of the site at the bottom and then some tables and charts.
I'm going to mark that as A4.
Okay.
Okay, that's the one with the image. I held up the wrong one.
Okay, as you can see, as few of my predecessors already told, and let me go over a few more things before I get to the counts. As a Muslim, we are supposed to pray 5 times a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. So basically, 35 prayers per week. Out of the 35 prayers, the most important prayer is the Friday prayer, then Friday 1 o'clock. That's where the most of the people come. And the only difference, it is more like a mass on a Sunday mass for church. The only difference is Friday is occurred on a weekday versus Sundays and a weekend. So we do not get that many people to show up on the Fridays. And then the capacity, the counts, that's why usually the prayer starts at 1 o'clock. And typically it runs between 30 to 45 minutes. So we did a count next to the property, at the driveway of the property, and the counts were done on February 16, 2024. The date is also shown on the chart. As you can see on the left side, we counted every 30-minute interval, 12 to 12:30, 12:30 to 1, 1 to 1:30, and 1:30 to 2 p.m. And along northbound Plainfield and southbound Plainfield Avenue. And the chart that's shown at the bottom, it shows that between 1 to 1:30, that's the most critical time. You'll see most of the traffic traveling along Plainfield, and the numbers are all less than 300 cars, 300 altogether vehicles. And the counts that we collected is separated into 3 vehicle classes, like cars, SUVs, and van in one class, the trucks and buses, like the heavy, in the second class, and the bicycles and the bikes in the third class. And we also performed a V/C, which is volumes to capacity, a calculation based on the highway capacity manual. That's shown on the middle chart that you see in the table. And the one that I highlighted is 0.3. Basically, what is telling you between the hours of 12:30 and 1:30, that 1 hour window, which is the most critical one, you have a plenty of room, plenty of available capacity on the roadway on Plainfield. So which is, that's what I'm saying, it's the capacity we oversee is only 0.3. So only 30% of the roadway is occupied. At the 70% you'll have available to accommodate more traffic in there. So that's the volume count, John, that we talked about, the first sheet.
Okay, and so what can you tell us about the parking need and the parking volume on the site?
Sure. We also performed an analysis of how many parking will be required and how many we are providing. And if you could flip to the page, it's, I think the title says 57-159 Plainfield Avenue, Edison, the basement floor occupancy.
Yeah, I'm going to be marking that as A5.
Okay. All right. So let me explain how we calculated the parking. As my predecessor says, that we have 2 big hallways, one for male, other one is for female. The male is 1293 square feet, and each person we are calculating needs about 10 square feet to perform the prayer. That basically in our Muslim community, we have two rituals to complete the prayer. Well, the first ritual is you have to kneel down and you have to touch your forehead to the ground. So that being said, I do have a copy. I can circulate this. A typical size of a prayer mat is 4 feet by 2.5 feet, which is about 10 square feet. So you need a person at least 10 square feet to complete the prayer. So divided 10, if you divide 10 or 1293 by 10, that's where we are saying that the hall room for male, a maximum people they can accommodate is 129. That can hold the whole. It doesn't mean that 129 will show up on Friday, because the other 34 prayers I was talking about, except the Friday ones, you'll see at least maximum 15 to 20 people, not more than 15 to 20. Friday is the most critical one. You'll see the maximum number of people. So the prayer hall for male, maximum it can hold 129. Female is 87. So if you combine these two, you end up with 216, a maximum capacity a Friday prayer can hold for male and female. Now, like Mr. Basir said, 80, we have a total of 80 congregants who live nearby within 10 minutes walking distance from the mosque. They will probably prefer to walk on Friday. If you take a 50% credit for that, so you deduct 40 from 216, you end up with 176. And according to the Edison code, the building code, it's 3760.3D. One parking space is required for 4 seats. So that's why we divided 176 by 4, you end up with 44. That's the requirement. And we are providing 48 parking. That's all I have to say, John, about the parking. We require 44, we are providing 48, 4 more.
All right. I don't believe I have any further questions unless the board or the board's professionals have any questions.
Mr. Chairman,
Vice Chairman.
you did these documents here?
Yes,
Is there a reason your name's not on here?
I can sign my name if needed.
Oh, there's no,
No, yeah, right. I do not have my name, but I can sign it and.
is there a
seal it.
reason you didn't put your name on there?
No, there's no reason. There's no reason behind it.
Mr. Chairman,
Ms. Brunel.
there's also a letter from the WIC companies that they're allowed to use the spillover parking, so no one,
That's
Right.
actually what I like.
positive.
Yeah, and I can touch base with 2 other comments that one of them, Mr. Devendra had, is how you're going to hold 216 people in 2 hall rooms. That's one of the other rituals that we have when we pray. If you Google it, you'll see it. Muslim, like a typical prayer, Eid prayer, you'll see we stand next to each other without any gap. Because if you have a gap in between 2 people, your prayer is not going to be accepted. So you have to touch your shoulder and stand next to each other. So that's one of the reasons we think we will be able to hold this number of people, 216. Doesn't mean that 216 will show up at the same time. That's how we calculated the capacity of the hall room, the 216.
My concern is little. My concern is different. More than 216 shows up.
No, if needed, we are open for segregated prayer. We can split the Friday prayer into 2 different prayer for 2 different time zones.
Different timings at that point?
Yeah, that's fine. We typically do it for other mosques. We can do 12:30 to 1 and then 1 to 1:30.
And you'll have staff there to control the
Yes,
crowd?
we'll have volunteers. We'll control the
parking
traffic
as
and
well as
everything.
a lot
Yes.
more people shows up, walking people shows up. How would you control the crowd?
I mean, we'll have volunteers because we have a 40-minute gap in between the 2 prayers, so that when the first prayer is finished, they have 40-minute gap to clear the facility, and then the second prayer will start.
And you will have enough space inside the parking
Correct.
lot for people to
Correct.
just come and wait.
Correct. And on top of that, we do have an approval from the neighboring Wick community, like Mr. Chairman was saying. They're willing to dedicate 244 parking spots for us
In a Vic Plaza.
in the Wick Plaza.
You have that
We
agreement
have
with
it,
them?
we have the approval from there. We had the letter.
It should have been part of your original packet. Mr. Dave, I could share if you'd like, to make it easier. Okay, you have it. And how many spots were within?
244 they dedicated for us.
Within WIC?
Yes.
Okay.
Within the Wick side.
Thank you, Mr. Masood.
Mr. Chair?
Mr. Chopper?
I have a question in regards to that. So the WIC's letter here says that it's approved for April 9th, 2024 and May 17th.
Yeah, that's
Is there
for
any
the
letter
two-
that says anything past that, or is it just for these 2 dates that was approved for?
I mean, the reason April 9th and May 17th is because those are two Eid dates. The Eid of the end of the month of Ramadan, we had the Eid al-Fitr. That's scheduled for April 9th, given the fact sighting the moon. The other one is May 17th is Eid al-Adha. We have two major festivals. That's why he mentioned those 2 dates for the year. But he's willing to cooperate with us and for those two. And in future scenarios, whenever we need it, he will be willing to cooperate with us.
Because I just wasn't sure. It doesn't say anything with the future. That's the only.
No, it doesn't say. That's true. But it says for the year 2024. Yes.
Those 2 dates, correct.
Yeah.
I do have another question for Mr. Masood, the traffic engineer. So you did mention that there's 80 individuals that are nearby.
Yes.
I did see that you guys supplied a
Correct.
nice list of all the residents and all. Do you think that the traffic control devices and measurements in place are sufficient for that, considering that the closest crosswalk is at Jefferson? Any residents living north of that Seymour Drive as such, is there any need for additional traffic devices?
I don't think so, because they have sidewalks. They will be able to use the sidewalks to get to the facility. And again, we are only seeking 50% of those 80, like 40 people, 40 people for the vehiclers. And if you divide 40 divided by 4, it's like 10 cars. So I don't think 10 cars will be a major number.
I'm talking about the residents living in the community, the 80 residents
You're
that
talking about the people who would be walking to the facility,
Yeah,
correct?
because majority of these addresses fall on the other side, towards Jefferson. So now my only concern is it's safe for the individuals crossing the road.
They have a light at the Jefferson, and they can use the light and to cross the street and get to the facility there.
Okay. Is that sufficient? So all the residents from Seymour Avenue are going to be directed to use that crosswalk?
Correct.
And second question is, I did see your traffic study. You're looking at, same questions, traffic devices. You're looking at approximately 250 cars on average going back and forth for northbound and southbound. Is it, by increasing it 20% cars, by getting that capacity of 46 spaces, is it?
No, I mean 20%, half of them we are assuming will come from north. Out of 44, maybe 20 will come from north and 20 come from south. So if you combine, these are all 30-minute counts. So if you combine these two together, which is around like 500 cars per hour, 20 out of 500 is less than 2%. So I don't think it's going to be a significant number.
Okay, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you, Mr. Chopper.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
In reference to this traffic volume count near the proposed site, I don't see any traffic study for 4 PM or 6 PM on here.
No, the reason we did, first, answer to that question is the typical Friday pair, which is the most critical, is 1 o'clock. 4 to 6 p.m., even if we have a prayer, it's not going to attract more than 10 or 15 people. So which is less than 5 cars probably. And if, according to the CEQA manual, if a facility generates less than 50 cars, or 50 vehicles, then a traffic study is not warranted. A standalone traffic study is not warranted for that.
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
Also, in reference to this, there's a traffic impact statement. Did you do it? You did this?
Yeah, it is, yeah, we have prepared it. It is more like, it talks about how the traffic how many traffic is expected to generate, how to circulate, and all those other details.
One more. So the residents that are going to walk, are they going to be walking across Route 1 also?
I don't think we have residents up to Route 1. I can look it up and get back to you on that. But we have to look at the list of the items, list of the addresses. I do not know on top of the head right now.
Thank you.
And then, Mr. Masood, currently, so you have parking on site, and then you have a parking agreement with WIC for
Yes.
200 spaces. So there would be no need for any congregants parking within the adjacent residential neighborhoods?
No.
And you'd agree to a condition of that?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions for Mr. Masood?
Mr. Chair, could we make a request to Mr. Masood to submit a copy from Wicks Plaza's statement, but for future use?
Yes, will do.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. Thank you. So so that would be a condition of any approval?
Correct.
Okay, all right. Any other questions?
Yeah, Mr. Chair.
Mr. Dave?
So the Friday prayers, say it starts around 1:30, depending on 15 minutes, 10, 20 minutes, no, plus or minus. How early the congregant would start coming to the facility?
Maximum 30 minutes prior.
So all the
12:30.
40, 45 cars would be spread it in the 30 minutes gap. It's not
Correct.
just one time.
Correct.
And the traffic would back up on Plainfield Avenue.
Correct.
Okay.
Correct.
And the same thing when they leave.
Correct.
They leave not at one
Not
time.
at the,
all
not
of
at
them
the
do.
same time, within a 15 to 20 minutes interval, because, yeah, it's not at the same time. And we'll definitely have volunteers guiding the traffic in and out at the facility.
Okay, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Mr. Chair.
Ms. Brown?
You talked about the 48 parking spaces, and then in some of your testimony, you described that the cars would have 4 passengers each.
Correct.
Which sounds great and limits the volume of people, pedestrians to cars. I'm not comfortable with that because to testify that there's going to be 4 people per car because you only have 48 spaces
No,
is troubling for me.
Okay, thank you for the question. It's the reason we use 4, it's actually part of the code. The code's 37-60.3D. It specifically says for house of worship, it is for 1 parking for 4 seats. That's what we use the number from. It's a code, it's an Edison code, township code.
Mr. Chairman, it's not 4 people in a car, it's 4 people in the mosque, the seat. Yeah, every 4 people that sit in the mosque is 1 parking space. That's where the number comes from. It comes right out of the ordinance.
All right.
And he also has 200 spaces that he's sharing right next door, so it's like,
Yeah.
we got plenty of parking.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Last call, any questions for Mr. Masood? Okay, seeing none. Thank you very much, Mr. Masood.
Thank you. For our final witness, we'll go back to Mr. Dupont, who will provide his planning testimony. Thank you.
Mr. Dupont, you were previously accepted, so you can proceed.
Thank you. I am still under oath. So from a planning perspective, the subject property is identified as Block 161M, lots 1L, 1Q1, and 1Q2. It's situated along Plainfield Avenue south of Prospect Avenue. It is within the RB residential district. That district permits houses of worship on lots with 3 or more acres. Our lot is 0.67 acres, and as such, a use variance is required. What other variances we need in addition to the use? We're looking for several bulk variances as well. The minimum lot area is 3 acres. Our lot is 0.67 acres. The minimum lot frontage shall be 200 feet. Our lot frontage is 150 feet, existing by way of those last 2. The maximum impervious coverage shall be 40%. And we had this discussion earlier in my engineering testimony. We're going to ask for 98.4%. Keep in mind that number is high because it includes the porous pavement, as it should by your code. And parking, 60 spaces required, 48 provided on site. So from a planner's perspective, again, not to belabor it, but It's 0.67 acres, meets the bulk standards for residential uses. In the zone, the surrounding land includes single-family homes, some multifamily homes, and the WIC Plaza. The lot is currently improved with 3 structures and 3 sheds and some paved parking areas. Applicants seeking permits to construct a new 2-story house of worship and related site improvements that will include site plan approval, parking, lighting, buffering, enclosed dumpsters. So when we look at your 2003 master plan, we note a couple principles. Your master plan wants to encourage the well-designing anti-sprawl land development that is consistent with neighborhoods and land use patterns, preserving the community's suburban and urban landscapes, which makes Edison unique and desirable to both live and work. The proposed house of worship is scaled to the lot, an improvement to the current land use pattern on the property. We will meet the needs of the citizens of the community with respect to providing a convenient, well-designed location to worship as they desire. As the board knows, a variance cannot be granted for the sole benefit of an applicant. There must be public benefit, such as defined in the MLUL. And we further several purposes of that MLUL. Purpose A, to encourage municipal action to guide the appropriate land use and development of all lands in the state in a manner which will promote the health, public safety, morals, and general welfare. A house of worship certainly furthers the morals and the general welfare of the community as it fosters good citizenship, good behavior, and charitable behavior. Purpose G, to provide a sufficient space and appropriate location for a variety of agricultural, residential, recreational, commercial, industrial uses, open space, both public and private, to their respective environmental requirements in order to meet the needs of New Jersey residents. The district permits houses of worship. The house of worship has been scaled to the lot and will improve the environment that currently exists and will significantly improve the drainage of the site. When we look at the use a little more closely, the proposed house of worship will provide congregants with a foundation in their religion and culture. Therefore, we must consider it that it be granted the relief, that the request is inherently beneficial. We must now address how the applicant meets the criteria for a D1 use variance. As we said, this is inherently beneficial and as such satisfies the positive criteria of the D1 use variance. There is no enhanced quality proof requirement. Instead, to seek a balancing test must be employed. The board must balance the positive and negative criteria to determine whether, on balance, the D variance can be granted without causing substantial detriment to the public good, substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance. The applicant must satisfy the 4-pronged test of the SECA case, which consists of, and I'll outline, initially identify the public interest at stake. The public interest at stake is the development of citizens with a strong sense of morals through religious practice. This benefits the community at large through development of a sense of community and values. 2, identify the detriments that would ensue from granting the variance. The relief is triggered by the size of the lot. However, the house of worship has been scaled to the lot. It provides all the setbacks adjoining property owners would anticipate from a standard building, a permitted use in the zone. 3, to determine whether it can reduce any detrimental effects by imposing reasonable conditions. We put porous pavement in place. We're improving the stormwater runoff from the site. With respect to parking, we've heard testimony from our traffic engineer that we're meeting the needs and actually exceeding the needs of our community. And we've eliminated an existing violation. The front yard setback that currently exists today, we're improving that. The board should balance the positive and negative criteria whether to grant the variance would cause a substantial detriment to the public good or substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of the zone plan and zoning ordinance. It is my professional opinion that the substantial detriment to the public good, nor will this impair the intent of the zone plan or the ordinance. The basis of these conclusions has been stated, but to restate, the facility has been scaled to the lot. We'll provide a religious center for a segment of the population that will foster the morals and general welfare of the community. With respect to the bulk variances for the lot size and lot width, these are hardships as there's no additional property to acquire from the surrounding properties. We have scaled the proposal to the property. We represent a better zoning alternative to the poorly organized improvements currently on the property, and we're improving the runoff. We must additionally consider that Price versus Himeji, where the case law fosters that bulk relief can be subsumed within use variance, as the standards have that written in mind. In conclusion, in my opinion, the granting of variances will not have a negative impact upon the surrounding properties. The proposed use is inherently beneficial, and the benefits of granting the variance completely outweigh any detriments. And that does complete my planning testimony.
I have no further questions for the planner, although I will recall Mr. Massoud very briefly after the board questions the planner.
Okay. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Dupont with regard to planning testimony? Mr. Brunel?
Mr. Chairman, I think he's kind of nailed it in terms of the requirements under the land use law. It is an inherently beneficial use, and I think the detriments, he's kind of, they're outweighed because he provides additional parking, he's got the additional landscaping, he's going to bring the property into a more visual environment of, suitability. So I think that he's done a pretty good job with it.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, all right, thank you, Mr. Dupont.
Thank you.
Mr. Luca.
Mr. Massoud, just to remind you, you're still under oath. Sure. Now, the board had asked you about the residents who lived within walking distance, and specifically would any of those residents cross Route 1 in walking to the site? And while the planner was testifying, what did you find?
Yeah, thank you, John. Thank you, board. I do have an answer to that question. Do you have a copy of this the list of 80 people, walking congregants? So we looked at it, none of them lives on the other side of US 1. So answer is no, nobody will be crossing US 1.
Thank you.
Sure.
Nothing further, that concludes.
Okay, we're gonna give the board 5 minutes to stretch their legs, and we'll give the court reporter a chance to take a break. So we'll be back in 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Court's adjourned 5 minutes.
Forget it.
Good? All right.
What did you understand?
We're going to return to session. Mr. DeLuca, do you have anything to add before we go to the public?
Nothing to add. I think my witnesses summed it up perfectly. Obviously, you know, this is a house of worship. It's an inherently beneficial use. We appreciate your time and thoughtful consideration, and I think at this time it's that concludes our presentation.
If you could hold that to a summation, thank you. All right, so we will now go out to the public. We will start for residents within 200 feet of subject property. If you're within 200 feet of subject property, you have received a letter via certified mail with regard to this case. Members of the public will be given 6 minutes so as to testify on it. If you have any questions to ask of the applicant or their professionals, please ask them at the beginning. Once your questioning turns into commentary, your timer will then begin. If someone says something, makes a comment, makes a statement that you agree with, you don't have to reiterate it. You could just say that I agree with so-and-so's statement or the person before me's statement, and then that'll suffice. With that, we'll begin with 200 feet of subject property. Sir?
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
If you pull the microphone a little bit higher, if you could state your full name for, sorry, if you could state your full name for the record and provide us with your address, that would be appreciated.
Daniel Hornacek, 7 Prospect Avenue. I lived at 7 Prospect Avenue since 1986, and I can assure you that in the time frame that I've been there, there certainly has been a increase in volume on traffic on Plainfield Avenue. It's difficult through the course of the day at times to even turn from Prospect Avenue onto Plainfield Avenue. Plainfield Avenue from Route 1 as you travel to Route 27 is 4 lanes, and then just after Wick Plaza, it changes to 2 lanes. It's a double yellow line, so really right now, there's only one direction that you can come from and turn into the property where the mosque would be. If you're traveling from 27 to Route 1, you really can't make that left-hand turn into the property. The mention of Wick Plaza offering a couple of hundred parking spots to the mosque, including their 44 parking places, would only allow potentially for more people to be attending the services as opposed to less. That may not actually be the case, but certainly the potential exists. My concern is that with the amount of volume of traffic that we have now, with this property obviously having some serious concerns about not meeting the zoning as it is, that allowing the variances and going forward with this would only make traffic worse and just a detriment to the immediate area itself. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Next person within 200 feet of subject property.
Sir, do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record, provide your address.
Okay, my name is Pete Scott Peters. Now it's spelled P-I-E-T. Middle name Scott, and the last name is P-I-E-T-E-R-S. It's Dutch, don't ask. I'm stuck with it. But basically...
I'm sorry, just your address, please?
Oh, I'm sorry, number 2 Prospect Ave.
Okay.
I'm right on the front line. I'm on the 50-yard line or up the front row of the stage, whatever you want to call it. Traffic is horrible there, it is. But another concern really is more or less, I noticed that, in churches and schools and stuff, are on the back roads, on the back streets. How come? Safer there. This place is anything but that. Now, of course, you've got the ladies and gentlemen is going there and stuff, and that's okay. But there will also be children. And that place is insane when it comes to traffic. Listen, now that I'm retired, I'm there all the time. Day and night, I see it all the time. They think it's a racetrack. It's incredible. The danger is unbelievable there. I mean, it's me personally, I'd be very leery about it because these folks that have children and stuff, okay, kids will be kids. So, you know, you're talking whatever and stuff, and all the kids are playing and stuff, whatever. All of a sudden, one inadvertently changes them out onto Plainfield Avenue, and wham! Oh God, no, I wouldn't want that. No. But it's a safety concern. I think to myself, why would they want to put it there? It's like putting it on Route 1 or Route 27. I'm like, why? I wouldn't want it. It's like, no, put me in the back row, back where it's quiet, you know, some places like that, you know. But if it was me, I'd reconsider and want to put it elsewhere. But I'm just safety conscious. That's why I, you know, think that way. I just can't help it. I was born that way. But anyway, that's really what I have to say about it too. I mean, you know, the traffic is really horrible there. And I feel for the children because without them, there's no future. Let's face it. So I want to make sure they're safe. But I don't know. It's an iffy thing, you know. But that's about all I wanted to say.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you coming out. Anyone else within 200 feet of subject property want to be heard?
Raise your right
Good
hand.
evening. Bruce Warringer.
Hold on. Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
And state your full name, provide your address.
Bruce Warringer, 5 Prospect Avenue. Wehringer. Before the pandemic, the house that they have back there right now on Prospect Avenue was ran as a mosque, a legal mosque. I don't know if you people ever seen the property, but the one side toward Wick, all legal fencing. Stockade fence, also put boards on top to make it 20 feet tall. Parties all the way to midnight, sometimes 1 o'clock in the morning. Cars all over Prospect and Hillcrest. Should be turned down. It's not big enough area for a mosque.
Thank you. Anyone else within 200 feet of subject property want to be heard? Anyone else within 200 feet of subject property? Last call. Okay. Anyone outside 200 feet of subject property want to be heard? Ma'am?
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth so help you God? If you could pull the microphone closer to you and state your full name and provide your address.
Full name is Saira Zafar.
I'm sorry, you're going to have...
Saira Zafar. And address 101 Roxy Ave. My entire childhood took place in Edison, and Edison is always going to be my home. The Muslim community of Edison helped raise me. Growing up, there was no mosque in Edison. I fully believe that having a local mosque will help positively impact many people, especially children in the community, as it will create a feeling of belonging for them and provide positive role models as well. As a new mother, I want the best for my daughters, and that includes raising them in the best environment possible. I believe that opening the mosque will in part enable that. Society today is individualistic, and so I think having a mosque will give our children the same sense of community that was once present everywhere, and it's vital to a healthy childhood, honestly. In the era of Islamophobia, it's more important than ever for our children to feel like they have a safe place. I wouldn't be the physician or person that I am today without the support of this community, and so I strongly support building this mosque. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for coming out. Anyone else outside of 200 feet of subject property want to be heard?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth so help you God?
I do.
And could you please state your full name, provide your address?
Sure. My name is Patricia Melchiotti. I live at 51 Hillcrest Avenue. Okay.
Ma'am, if you could just spell your last name for the court reporter.
Malchiodi.
Thank you very much. You may proceed.
I am so in favor of putting a mosque there. I go to my church, and I believe it's so important. And so therefore, I think they also need a place for the children to go, for the children to learn how to be nice to other people and care about other people and not just think about themselves. And I hear people talking about the traffic. I understand that, but it's everywhere now. I moved out here in '82, and traffic has increased, and our population has increased. And that's just part of life. You know, the more people we get, the more cars we're going to get. But I do believe this is very important for these people. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else outside of 200 feet of the subject property wanting to be heard? Anyone else?
Sir, would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And state your full name for the record and provide your address. You may also want to spell it. I think you want everybody to spell it. Okay.
My name is Imtiaz Siamwala. First name is I, M like Mary, T-I-A-Z. Last name S-I-A-M-W-A-L-L-A.
Thank you so much, sir. You may proceed. I apologize. Your address, please.
Hannah Road, Edison. First and foremost, I would like to greet all of you with the Islamic greeting. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, which means peace and blessings on all of you. I am so happy to see this entire congregation out here. These people have fasted all day, and they have broken the fast at sunset with one date and one small bottle of water. And they are here because they are all so compassionate. For those who don't understand where we come from as Muslims, we are a compassionate community to begin with. Don't let the media fool you otherwise, okay? Whatever you hear on media, fabricated stuff or non-fabricated stuff, but the community as such is passionate. I myself, I run a not-for-profit organization right here in Edison. It's called the Care and Share Foundation. We are a not-for-profit 501c3 approved, and as Muslims, it is an obligation on us to be compassionate and helpful. So bringing this mosque into Edison is only going to encompass the values that our religion teaches us. This is the base of what we believe in, is being compassionate, being helpful, being productive, being a part of the fabric of the community. And I heard somebody saying that parties all night. Perhaps you need to understand the religion a little deeply. When we go in to pray, our priest, our imam, is the only one who can recite, and the congregants have to fold their hands and be silent. They are not allowed to speak. Even the Friday prayer that we were talking about earlier, that is the biggest crowd that is going to come to, same applies. There is a sermon by the priest. Everybody has to stay quiet. That's a religious mandate. This is not something out of etiquette, but our religion requires us that when the sermon goes on, you be quiet. And right after the sermon is a small prayer, same exact thing. So if you're talking about parties and all that, I think you basically not understood the religion as such. But I'm here to propagate that this mosque is a need of the community, because there's a community which has a vast network of people from different areas. We have doctors, we have IT professionals, we have taxi drivers, we have food vendors, we have housewives, right? And we need a place to worship. It is our constitutional right. I'm just asking you all to uphold our constitutional right. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else outside 200 feet of subject property want to be heard? Ma'am?
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And if you would provide your full name and spell it and your address.
Fatima Tawfiq, Fatima Thowfeik, 575 Main Street, Chatham, New Jersey. Good evening, esteemed council members. First and foremost, thank you for the opportunity to address you today. My initial interaction with the Edison Muslim Community Center was at a profoundly meaningful juncture in my life. Since then, my bond with the center has deepened and evolved continuously. Therefore, I feel a sense of obligation to advocate for the operation of the center's building, which would greatly benefit career women like myself, children, and wider community. During my transition from the University of Cincinnati, after completing my PhD in cancer biology in 2016, to Weill Cornell Medical School in New York for postdoctoral research, my husband and I encountered substantial challenges in securing accommodation. The members of this center went above and beyond to facilitate a smooth relocation for us. Getting to know them not only provided us with practical assistance, but also fostered a sense of belonging and connectivity, particularly as we moved several hundred miles away from our previous environment. Since then, we lived in New York City, then around Edison for several years, and now in Morris County for less than a year. However, due to the warm welcome and unwavering support we received and continue to receive, the Edison Muslim Community Center has remained our preferred place of worship. Through my interaction with the center, I have observed that it and its members are exceptionally welcoming and diverse. Its services have had a profound impact on me personally and on the broader Edison community. Esteemed council members, over the past 3 years, I have witnessed the center's unwavering dedication in delivering essential services to the community, despite the challenges of operating in temporary rented premises. Therefore, I firmly believe that allowing the center to establish itself in its own permanent location will ensure uninterrupted service provision to the growing community. The services and activities offered by the center extend beyond its primary function as a place of worship, making a significant impact on the Edison community at large. The events and programs organized by the center in the past, focusing on children, women, and youth, have had a profound effect on the community. These initiatives provide a valuable opportunity for many who otherwise may not have been able to access such services due to financial constraints. Therefore, dear esteemed council members, allow me to conclude by emphasizing one final point. As I have explained the services provided by the center that embrace the broader Edison community, I want to express the unique significance of this center to me and many other Sri Lankans. As a Sri Lankan national by birth, the existence and operation of this center holds special meaning, offering not only a place of worship, but also a space to celebrate and preserve our culture, cuisine, attire, and language. Therefore, I earnestly appeal to this council to recognize the immense benefits of formalizing the center's operation in its own premises by granting full permission. I am confident that many others gathered here would strongly support this stance, acknowledging the invaluable contribution this center can make to the greater Edison community. Thank you for affording me the opportunity to share my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Anyone else within 200 feet of subject property want to be heard?
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And could you please state your full name and provide your address?
Safahuddin Janoof, Safahudeen, Janoof, 59 Winthrop Road, Edison. Just want to remind you something. Most of the thing we are asking what this community needs for this from this organization. I want to tell you some witness, Mr. Jim know about it, James, what this organization gave it to a community during the COVID. And you remember that we came to township, we asked, there's nobody there to go outside, they're scared to death, everybody. We and few people, we bring the food, 2 truckloads from DC, we distribute house by house. No race, no religion, nothing. Whoever around that area, we distributed. And this Papiani Park also, we distributed more than 2,000 people. So this is what we are asking. If there's an organization over there, we cover everybody over there. Doesn't matter only it's a Muslim. Not anybody over there surrounding that area. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Anyone else outside 200 feet? Sir?
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And state your full name, spelling it, and provide your address.
Mohammed Taha Sheikh, Muhammed Taha Shaikh. Address is 52 Hillcrest Avenue.
You may proceed, sir.
Perfect. I just want to thank the committee right now for taking your time, and honestly, because it's already 9 o'clock, I'll keep my thing short. I lived in Edison for over 18 years, officially 18 and 3 months. As a child growing up in Edison, my parents had to take me to a mosque that was over 20 minutes away, just right outside of Ford's, New Jersey. Now, you might not think that's important, but I want to give you a quick self-reflection I had. I owe everything that I have right now, where I'm standing, what I'm doing, and what I continue will do to the community behind me. Whether it's just older brothers and people, older figures and older mentors that I have teaching me how to shoot a basketball outside the parking lot, to help to older figures and people in the professional working experience teaching me how to navigate my college experience. I owe everything to the community that we have. But the reality is that currently there is no major mosque in South Edison, and that is a big problem. Recently, and I want to shed light to something, is that there's a youth group for the Muslims in Edison that we recently started in 2022. Over this time, we've reached over 140 youth, but that's not even hitting numbers. In South Edison, me and my team have recognized over 60 youth not having been recognized. The reality of this is because our headquarters and our region is primarily North Edison because of the distance. If you travel from South Edison to North Edison to the mosque in North Edison, it takes around 20 minutes. That's without traffic, that's without any traffic lights or any stuff like that. With this mosque in South Edison, we're able to invite the youth and get youth programs started. And just to quickly show you why this youth program is so important, because why is it important to the township? I'll give you 2 examples: civic engagement and social relief or social justice. The first example I'll give you is just recently, over a month ago, in North Edison at the same mosque, young Muslims, the chapter in Edison, packed and made 500 meals, over 500 meals, but approximately 500 meals of no cost. And we packed these meals and we delivered them and handed them out on the streets of Newark, New Jersey. In the past, we've done greater examples of these with another food drive with 1,000 meals. This is all hand-packed, donated, and fundraised by the youth, for the greater community. Another example we've done for the youth, and this is open to everybody, is a professional development experience with over 20 people in qualified areas, from quantitative finance to marketing to business relationships to engineering and other STEM fields, coming in and giving their experience so that youth can understand what it does it mean to go into college and what major should I choose. So I'll leave you off with one question. It's not why we need this mosque, it's when we need this mosque. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anyone else outside 200 feet wanting to be heard? Last call. Anyone outside 200 feet of subject property wanting to be heard? Okay. Can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Patel, seconded by Vice Chairman O'Gorman. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed. Mr. DeLuca, do you have any summation prior to going to board?
No summation. I think thank you for your time.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, so we'll now go to the board.
Mr. Chair,
Mr. Dave.
I make a motion to approve this application with the caveat, the applicant has met all the negative and positive criteria. The use is not detriment to the public good or public safety as appropriate. The site is, even though is smaller than 3 acres, it suits for the intended use. With this application, it comes with a lot of conditions, and the conditions are that if the congregation is more than 216 congregant, the persons, the applicant has agreed to split the prayers. They will also employ the professional security or a staff or cops to control the crowd and the traffic. The hours of operations would be 5 a.m. to 9 p.m., 7 days a week. The building plans need to be signed and sealed by the professionals. When the prayers are occurring, no other persons or activities are occurring in the premise. Soup kitchen is only for to go. Is that what we agreed, correct? Soup kitchen is only for the go?
Yeah.
Okay. Signage is not provided, so that you're going to provide for the more details of the signage. Basement and the storage is only for storage use at present, correct?
Correct.
The compliance of the professional reports is required. We also need the agreement that you're going to make with the Vic Plaza, and that should be agreeable to subject to board attorney. So you're going to provide that, that agreement. No parking is allowed adjacent to residential neighborhood. All prayers must be conducted within the premise, house of worship area only unless permitted by the state or the federal law. With regard to any items not mentioned above, this motion will incorporate all of the testimony of the applicant, attorney, planners, engineers, and members of the board, as well as incorporation of all of the conditions and what is to be done, not to be done at this site, as was testified to. That's it.
A second.
Motion made by Mr. Dave, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barone?
I have a comment. I am a man of faith, and I respect very much this application. The testimony that we've heard and that has been given, the services that are extended even beyond the religious aspect, and that your community deserves a house of worship. However, I must vote no for this reason. All that I just said would be a permitted use in 3 acres. This is a 1 acre lot versus 3 acres required. I think it's too dense in this area. I hope, if it should not pass, that the organization finds a more suitable, appropriate location, and that you do get your house of worship. So I am a no on the motion.
Okay. Mr. Chopra?
Yes to the motion to approve with the condition that there is no street parking and proper signage is given in accordance to the regulations as far as no left turn, et cetera.
Okay. Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Siddha?
Yes on the motion on the conditions which Dave has proposed.
Vice Chair Gorman?
No.
And Chairman Gamba?
Yes on the motion.
So we have 1, 2, 3.
5-2, this case is hereby approved.
Thank you.
You're next. All right, good. Thank you so much. Really appreciate it.
Oh, okay, good.
Not my first. Ladies and gentlemen, if we could exit quietly, we're still in session. We have another case coming up. If you could just make some room, just let the next case coming in.
Big project. It's my opinion.
All right, we're going to take a 2-minute recess just to allow the next case to set up. We're going to return to session. Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda.
Case Z1 2024 460 Plainfield Ave LLC at 460 Plainfield Ave. Applicant is seeking bulk and use D variances to permit the use of a restaurant and catering in the existing warehouse/retail strip center. Standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan. This is not a permitted use in this zone. Max FAR permitted is 50%, proposed is 52%. Affected property is located in the LI zone, designated as block number 3.02, lot number 8.01 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Good evening.
Good evening, Board Chair. My name is David Prasad, licensed attorney in the state of New Jersey. I'm here tonight representing 460 Plainfield Avenue LLC. They are seeking a D1 use variance for restaurant and catering hall in the LI zone. Tonight we'll have 4 witnesses testify, and we will try to keep it brief and thorough. We'll have the tenant, the civil engineer, Robert Murray. We'll have the traffic engineer, John Ray, and the planner, John DuPont. We are seeking a parking variance for the site, and there are 4 other existing variances on the site as well. So with your permission, I'd like to invite the first witness.
Without objection.
Microphone closer to you.
You can have a seat.
Yes, have a seat and pull the microphone closer. Would you raise your right hand? Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Hi.
Yes?
Hi, my name is Shiki Vedadala. Just say yes. Sorry. Yes.
Okay, and can I get your name?
My name is Shiki Vedadala. Good evening, everyone.
If you could spell your name for the court reporter.
SHIKI VIDADALA.
You may proceed.
Okay, can you just give us a brief description of how you intend to use the site?
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good evening. So this place basically I want to use for a restaurant and a catering business. So mostly it's an Indian restaurant. It's an upscale restaurant which can cater to the Indian audience, and also having some some of American dishes too. So we planning to have it like operating in the morning and evening times, like morning from 11 to 3 and evening like 6 to 11. And also the maximum, the kitchen occupancy we can have, that we can support is like max 300 capacity. So that's the kitchen we have planned for designed. That's pretty much. And also I'm planning to have employees, like 12 employees on the weekdays and 16 employees working for the restaurant on the weekends, Friday to Sunday. Yeah.
And your employees will also carpool, is that correct?
Yeah, mostly they might use like 3 to 4 cars for carpooling, yeah.
Okay. And for events and catering events that you have at the facility, you'll have valet parking available?
Yeah, for sure, we will plan that. I see mostly the kitchen, what we have supporting only max 300 occupancy. For sure, we will have a valet service available if needed only, because if needed, I'm for sure we are going to hire them and use that for the valet service. But for sure, we don't have that much capacity to support the kitchen.
So if the board, as a condition of the approval tonight, would limit you to a maximum of 300 occupants, are you willing to agree with that?
Yeah, sorry. Oh, sorry. Yes, yeah, exactly. Yes.
That's it for the operational testimony. If the board would have any questions for this witness.
Okay, actually, I have one question. So with regard to the valet parking, you would submit to a valet agreement?
Yeah, I'm going to hire a valet service company so that they can help us in doing this.
Okay. All right, excellent. Does the board have
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. McDowell?
I may have missed it, I apologize. So the parking is on site, or is it going to be off site for the valet parking? And the reason why I asked that, if it's off site, then they need to have some kind of agreement that as long as they're there, they have to keep that agreement in place.
Yeah, it's on site. Yeah.
It is on site or off site?
On site.
Okay, so you're just going to share the parking that's already there for the warehousing?
Exactly.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Does any member of the board have any questions for the applicant? Seeing none.
Okay, thank you.
None. Thank you so much.
I'd like to introduce our next witness, our civil engineer, Robert Murray.
Sir, raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And just state your full name.
Robert Murray. Okay, Mr. Murray, if you want to give a brief description of the site.
Hang on.
Sorry.
You have to qualify him. He could just please give a summary of your qualifications.
Yes, I graduated from Stevenson's Technology with a bachelor's degree in civil engineering in 2017. I've been a licensed professional engineer for 3 years now, and I testified in front of multiple boards in front of Middlesex County, including Edison Township Planning Board, but never the zoning board.
Well, welcome to the varsity team. You could tell the chairman I said that. Okay, and your license are current and in good standing?
Yes.
All right, we'll accept you. Thank you.
Okay, Mr. Murray, if you want to give a description of the site layout and also a description of the variances that we are requesting for this application.
Yes, if you direct your attention to the easel, we have our daytime parking plan exhibit, which is sheet 2 of the site plan. And just to orientate my drawings, north is up. The property, better known as 460 Plainfield Avenue, is designated as Lot 8.01 of Block 3.02 in the Township of Edison tax map. The site is located between Plainfield Avenue and Kilmer Court, with access off both roads. The property is approximately 10.01 acres and is located entirely in the LI Light Industrial Zone. The site is surrounded to the north by Kilmer Park, to the east, open space / wooded lot just past Plainfield Avenue. To the south is an industrial building, a commercial building, and a school. And to the west are industrial buildings. As it exists today, the site is currently standing with 2 buildings. One is a 204,278 square foot warehouse with approximately 10,555 square feet of office space. And to the east is a 12,000 square foot retail building. Prior to the previous approval of the retail building, there were 231 parking spaces. Currently, there are 175 parking spaces. The applicant is seeking to convert the retail building into a restaurant / catering hall, which is a use variance in the LI zone. Site improvements include the restriping of 28 existing spaces with the addition of 21 spaces, which is located just south of the existing warehouse. That's putting our daytime parking at 196 spaces. No new impervious coverage is being proposed. Therefore, this is not a major development and does not require stormwater management. And now if I can just change to Exhibit A2, which is our valet parking plan.
So you can take the microphone with you, so you just approach this way so we don't have to go back and forth.
Okay. So the applicant is proposing valet parking from the catering hall / restaurant to valet parking throughout the site, including south of the existing warehouse, where we will triple stack cars if necessary. This puts our parking count to 219 spaces. And this is really the bulk of the improvements to the site. Existing nonconformities include side yard setback, where 39.9 exists, where 40 is required. Parking setback, where 0 feet exists, where 5 is required. Parking size, where 8.5 feet by 18 exists, where 9 by 18 is required. Both variants include max floor area ratio, where 0.52 where exists, where 0.5 is required, which was previously granted. And our final variance is the parking variance. 293 spaces are required, where 196 during the day is provided, and 219 during outside of the warehousing hours is provided. And that concludes my description of the proposed improvements.
Does the board have any questions for
Mr. Chairman, if you
Mr.
would,
Bignell?
just to clear it up, we're not making any changes to the original site plan approval, are we? Like all those conditions are staying into effect, all the landscaping, the lighting, it's all staying in effect, right?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
Does the board have any questions for Mr. Murray?
Mr. Chair, I have a question for the applicant. You said something about triple stacking cars. Could you repeat that?
Yes, there will be, for the valet parking south of the warehouse, when outside of warehousing hours, there will be triple stacked cars as shown on sheet 3 of the site plan.
Okay, is that the difference, the 23 cars?
Excuse me?
In between the day count and the valet count, that difference, is that what accounts for the triple stacking?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you. Did the board have any other questions, Mr. Murray? Mr. Bauer.
Mr. Chairman, could you just speak to the circulation at the warehouse, how that's going to be impacted by the restriping of that parking on the south of the building?
Right, so the loading, it will not be affected. It will continue as is. There will not be parking in those spaces that are added, that are striped. There will be no parking during loading hours.
So they're essentially valet only or off hours?
They're essentially just used off hours from the loading.
Okay. And you agree with the remainder of the comments? There's just some minor commentary regarding potential utilities which may be impacted with the change of use?
Correct.
Okay, I'm satisfied, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Bauer.
Question.
Excuse me, Mr. Murray, hang on one second. Mr. Brown, please bring the microphone in.
Just curious, it's going to be a restaurant and catering hall up to 300 people. Will the catering hall be serving alcohol?
That is a question for the tenant. I would like to defer to the tenant.
Yes, I do believe the tenant will be serving alcohol.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Mr. McDowell.
I believe they've already applied for the license in the clerk's office. I kind of remember that going by my desk a couple months back. So.
Good.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, I'd like to call our next witness, our traffic engineer, John Ray, to come up.
You solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
John Ray, R-E-A.
And Mr. Ray, I know you've appeared before us prior, but it's been a while.
Sure.
So you could just give us a summary of your qualifications, please.
I'm a licensed professional engineer in the state of New Jersey. My specialty is traffic engineering. I have a total of 50 years' experience. That includes doing parking studies. I've been asked to come to the board tonight to testify as to the adequacy of the parking for the proposed restaurant and banquet facility.
And your licenses are current and in good standing?
Yes, they are.
Great, we'll accept you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Ray, if you can just go through the parking and the circulation for the site.
Sure. Well, first of all, I didn't hear the testimony from my client earlier, but the peak hours for the restaurant and the banquet facility are going to occur in the evening after 5, 6 o'clock in the evening and on weekends. This is typical of restaurants or banquet facilities. So the peak hours for the restaurant and the banquet facility will occur outside of the hours for the warehouse and the office operation, which basically shut down around 5 or 6 o'clock on weekdays. And I'm not sure if they even operate on Saturdays, but if they do, they have shortened days on Saturday. So the first thing is the peak hours for parking for the restaurant and banquet facility will occur outside of the peak hours for the existing warehouse and office facility. The second thing I did was I took a look at the distribution of the parking. If you look at the site plan, there are 110 parking spaces in the front area surrounding the building, the retail building that fronts Plainfield Avenue. It is my expectation that the overwhelming majority of the time that the restaurant and banquet facility is open, that the 110 spaces surrounding the building will be adequate to serve the parking demand. And I base this on the industry standard of requiring one parking space for every 3 seats that are in the facility. So we're looking, and that would include employees. And in this case, we even have a little bit more of a factor of safety because I understand most of the employees will carpool to the site. So the 110 spaces surrounding the building, the overwhelming majority of the time will be adequate to support the facility. On very busy banquet facility evenings, it is my expectation that they may have to use the valet operation, as Rob Murray has indicated, with the valet operation. And it's also my understanding that no employees or no customers will be allowed to park in the valet spots that are in front of the warehouse. So it'll only be used by the valet operation. We get up to 219 spaces. And again, my expectation is even at a peak time for a banquet, even if there are more people than 3 people in a car, you probably won't need more than 125, 130 parking spaces based on my experience. So we may have to go into the valet area for those peak events, for those banquets. But we have the valet parking. It'll be off-peak, not when the warehouse and office are operating. So at the end of the day, my conclusion is that the parking plan for the facility is adequate and will provide for adequate parking for the restaurant operation and the banquet facility.
Thank you. Are there any questions for Mr. Ray?
Thank you.
Seeing none. Thank you.
For our next witness, I'd like to call up our professional planner, John DuPont.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your name.
John P. DuPont.
Mr. DuPont, you were previously qualified earlier this evening, so we'll continue to accept you. You'll be giving planning testimony, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And thank
So
you very much.
You can come out of timeout and.
All right, so the applicant's seeking to utilize the existing approximate 12,000 square foot retail space along the frontage of Plainfield Avenue as a restaurant/catering use, which is not permitted in LI zone. Therefore, the D1 use variance is required. In order to justify the use, one must satisfy both the negative and positive criteria. The positive criteria requires that special reasons exist, meaning that in particular property is well suited for the proposed use. Here we have an existing, currently unused structure which shares property with the warehouse in the rear of the property. The warehouse use is limited, and as a warehouse operation ends at 5 p.m. Each weekday, and it's closed on weekends, leaving a large section of on-site parking vacant. The restaurant and catering use is busiest during the evening hours and on the weekends, providing perfect synergy between the existing warehouse. By utilizing what would otherwise be vacant parking, they are providing a complementary use, which would not be present at other sites throughout the township. Addressing the negative criteria, I believe that the variance can be granted without causing a substantial negative detriment to the public good. It wouldn't substantially impair the intent or purpose of the municipal zone ordinance or master plan. The locations in the LI zone, restaurants are permitted conditional uses provided they are located within industrial parks. The proposed use is very similar to the conditional use. While the property is not technically in an industrial park, it does share space with an existing warehouse and makes use of ample parking away from main roadway that one would find in an industrial park setting. There are no surrounding residential uses, so there's no risk of us conflicting with residents. Visually, an attractive and thriving restaurant/catering hall use is preferable to a vacant building. The new C variance relief requested is tied to the unique parking situation on site. I believe the parking relief can be granted under the C1 hardship standard, as the site is already developed and is constrained by existing structures. The proposed plan maximizes parking on site to the greatest extent possible. The new bulk variance relief can also be granted under the flexible C2 standard, as the variance relief sought is specific to the piece of property and will advance purposes of the MLU and the township master plan, and the benefits clearly outweighing the detriment. In looking at the Edison master plan and its goals, One of the stated goals in the master plan is to discourage incompatible and/or conflicting uses. The application promotes a compatible and complementary use of the property as shown by the harmonious use of the parking areas. Another stated goal in the master plan is to promote the reduction of sprawl. If this use were placed in a zone such as the TC zone, the amount needed for parking would require a significant parking field to accommodate the use, resulting in more sprawl. Another stated goal is to capitalize on existing transit. The site is located within close proximity to the Edison train station, and patrons can take advantage of that proximity. The application meets the following purposes and the intent of the MLUL. Purpose A, to promote public health, safety, and general welfare. By making use of an existing site and on-site unused parking, less unnecessary parking fields, less unnecessary impervious coverages. Purpose C, to promote adequate light, air, and open space for the same reasons I just stated. Purpose I, to promote a desirable visual environment. The restaurant use will have a more pleasing facade than most other light industrial uses. Purpose M, to encourage more efficient use of land. The proposed shared valet parking scheme will provide much more efficient use of the parking fields than having a wide swath of impervious cover not being utilized for long periods of time. All their variances, with the exception of the use and the parking related variances, are existing and nonconformities, and they were previously approved in the past application. In conclusion, I feel the relief can be granted without substantial detriment and will promote the stated goals in the Township Master Plan and the MLUL. And that concludes my planning testimony.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Dupont?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
What's the hours of operation?
I believe that the applicant testified that the Monday through Thursday, they'll be open for lunch from 11:30 to 3 p.m. And then they'll close for a break, and then they'll open again from 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. And that's Monday through Thursday. Friday to Sunday, the applicant stated 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for lunch, and they'll close for an hour and open at 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. for dinner or banquet events.
Well, say that again.
Okay, Monday through Thursday, open for lunch, 11:30 a.m. to 3 p.m. They'll close for a break in between and open again at 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Monday through Thursday. Friday through Sunday, they will open at 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. for lunch, and then they'll close for an hour, open again from 4 p.m. to 12 a.m. for dinner or banquet events.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Dupont? Ms. Brown?
On those hours, Friday and Saturday, 10 to 3 and then 4 to midnight, they open on Sunday or you closed on Sunday? I didn't hear that.
Friday through Sunday, yes. So
Oh,
they're
through
open.
Sunday?
Yep.
One other question. What kind of food are you going to be serving in the restaurant? What kind of restaurant is it?
I believe the applicant testified saying it's an Indian restaurant and catering hall.
Okay. Thank you.
Excellent. Any questions, Mr. Dupont? Seeing none. Thank you, Mr. Dupont.
That is the end of our direct testimony. Just for the record, I'd like to say that we have a report from DNR Engineering and from Bignell Planning Consultants, both dated March 20th, 2024, and the applicant has no issues with complying with any of the conditions contained in either of the reports.
Thank you. Okay. Do you have anything else to add?
That's it.
Okay. All right. So we will now go out to the public. If there's anyone within 200 feet of subject property wanting to be heard, if you're within 200 feet of subject property, you have received a notice via certified mail. Seeing none, we'll now go outside of 200 feet of subject property. Anyone wanting to be heard? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Mr. Chair, I have a question.
Ms. Chhabra.
Do we have architectural plans for this?
Architectural plans, no.
This is a new construction, correct?
No, the building is existing. It's a shell of a building right now. It's just interior fit outs that will go into that building.
Okay. All right.
All right. Okay, can I get a motion to close?
Motion to close public session.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, second by Mr. Patel. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed, and I'll go to the board.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to approve this application It met the positive and negative criteria. Will not result in substantial detriment to the master plan and zoning ordinance. With conditions, you'll meet the engineering and planning report from Edison Township. No more than 300 occupants. You'll have an agreed with the attorney on the valet parking for on-site parking. And the FAR is de minimis. The site plan will remain the same. And the hours will be Monday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 3 p.m. and 6 p.m. to 11 p.m. Then on Friday, it'll be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. From Friday to Sunday, it'll be 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. and then 4 p.m. to midnight.
Second.
Second.
Mr. Patel, Mr. Sadata beat you to it. Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Sadata. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion, and I look forward to the Indian restaurant.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
Yes.
And Chairman Kemba?
Yes on the motion, and I too look forward to dining at the Indian restaurant, but it's going to be on Mr. Barone. We're going to go for dinner, and since you serve alcohol, he'll cover that as well for me. Unanimous approval, 7-0. Congratulations.
Thank you so much, board. Have a good night.
I mean, that's the best one around here, you know. A&G.
Oh, it's outdated.
Yeah, I know that. That was the original. I know that one. I'm sorry.
Come around and break. What break you talking about?
I'll get this passes so I can throw this shit in. I'm gonna throw it right in the dumpster on the way out. I'm not even gonna take it home.
Ready? All right. Madam Secretary, next case on the agenda, please.
Case number Z27, 2023, Lintz Sports LLC at 3 Brunswick Ave. Applicant is seeking bulk and use D variances for preliminary and final site plan approval to construct a recreational and retail facility. Standards have not been met in accordance with the master plan. Max FAR permitted is 25%, proposed is 28%. Maximum building height permitted is 30 feet, proposed is 50.33 feet. Affected property is located in the GB zone, designated as block number 4.01, lot number 22.01 on the Edison Township tax map. All noticing paperwork is in order.
Thank you very much. Good evening, Mr. Shire.
Thank you. Good evening, Mr. Chairman. I greatly appreciate you and the board members staying late to get this done.
I may not appreciate it tomorrow morning when the alarm goes off, but...
My name is Bernard Shire with the firm of Convery, Shire, representing Lintz Sports LLC. Property in question is 3 Brunswick Avenue, block 4.01, lot 22.01. It's 3.59 acres in the GB zone. Presently, property lies vacant. We're proposing a 2-story, 43,800 square foot mixed-use building, 12,525 square feet of retail, and 31,307 square feet of recreational use. There are 3 variances we need. The FAR, as the secretary indicated, will be 0.28. When permitted is 0.25. The building height will be 47 feet, and that will be, the reason for that will be explained because of the recreational use, and permitted is 30 feet in the zone. There will also be a sign height variance for the sign on the building. The uses are permitted in the zone, and they are contemplated under the master plan. And unless there are any preliminary questions, I have 4 witnesses to call.
Does the board have any preliminary questions for Mr. Shire? Seeing none, you may proceed.
Thank you. Call R.J. Kaluko, our professional engineer.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help you God?
I do.
And state your full name for the record.
Full name, Robert Kaluko, C as in Charlie, O-L-U-C-C-O.
Mr. Kaluko, could you just give a summary of your qualifications, please?
Sure. Graduated with a Bachelor of Science in Civil Engineering from the NJIT in 2014. I've been working in the field of civil engineering on various commercial, retail, industrial projects for the past 10 years. I'm a licensed engineer in the state of New Jersey. My license is current and in good standings. I've never been before this board before, but I have been accepted as an expert witness at multiple other municipalities in New Jersey.
All right, well, there's a survey afterwards to see how we rate up. So, but you will accept your qualifications.
Thank you.
Mr. Kaluko, you prepared the proposed site plan for this project?
Yes, I did.
All right, and could you please just briefly tell the board the present condition and location of the property?
Sure. We're looking at block 4.01, lot 22.01, 3 Brunswick Avenue in the township. For my first exhibit, it's titled Aerial Map Exhibit with today's date, the north arrow pointing up. It's basically a colorized version of the aerial map that was submitted with the site plan set, with the subject site outlined in yellow and the zones outlined in blue. You can mark that as A1.
Do you have a smaller version, Mr. Shire, for the board?
No, I don't.
I do.
I believe the full version was submitted with the...
This is a colorized rendering.
Okay.
And I think he said there were some changes to what was submitted.
Okay, okay.
That's why I'm asking.
All right, thank you, Ms. Shaw. You can just submit it to the board secretary. Thank you.
Mr. Kaluko, while they're passing out those reduced size exhibits, could you please tell the board what it depicts?
Sure. For the aerial map exhibit, first I'll just note that the property is located in the GB General Business District. Site consists of 156,442 square feet or 3.59 acres. It's currently undeveloped open space. To the north of the site, you have Brunswick Avenue with commercial uses beyond. To the east, you have Eisenhower Drive with residential uses beyond. To the south, you have open space and an access drive to the commercial facility beyond the property. And then to the west, you have Plainfield Avenue, which is County Route 529, with a public recreational park and industrial uses beyond. With the undeveloped light, there's currently no vehicular access to the site. There's full-height curbs surrounding the property on all sides to all 3 streets. The access road that leads to the office complex to the south, there's no curb cuts or anything to the site. I believe it's actually roped off.
Right. Could you please explain to the board what improvements are proposed?
Sure. I'll move on to my next exhibit, which is titled Site Plan Rendering. Again, with today's date, north arrow pointing up. And it is basically a combined colorized version of the site and landscape plans that were submitted with the subject application. I can mark that as A2.
This is not.
Might be on the opposite side.
So let me just confirm so that I have this correct. A1 you're marking as the first page of the aerial map exhibit, and A2 you're marking as site plan rendering page 1.
Correct.
Okay.
Sorry, the numbering might be a little off on the 11 by 17. Going over the proposed improvements. Proposed improvements include the construction of a 25,839 square foot, two-story mixed-use building. Those mixed uses include retail and indoor recreational courts or health club, which is listed as a permitted use in the GB zone. Regarding bulk standard requirements, the project is primarily compliant with the bulk standard requirements in the ordinance, with the exception of maximum building height and maximum floor area ratio. The permitted building height is 2 stories or 30 feet, whereas 2 stories and 47 feet are proposed, and the maximum floor area ratio is 0.25, whereas 0.29 is proposed. Access to the site is provided via 2 driveways, one full movement driveway to Brunswick Avenue off the northeastern corner of the building, and the second driveway is a ingress-egress right turn only driveway to Plainfield Avenue off the west side of the building. What I will note about the Brunswick Avenue driveway is there is a small pocket of wetlands in the vicinity here. Previously, the applicant has submitted applications to the DEP for an LOI and a general permit 10A, which is a very minor crossing, and has received approval to add the driveway in this location. Access to the site, again, through these 2 driveways, you have full movement around the entirety of the property. Parking spaces, based on code, 1 space per 300 square feet of retail is required, and 1 space per 200 square feet of recreational is required. Doing the math, it results in 199 total spaces being required. In addition to general parking requirements, there are electric vehicle parking requirements based off of the state. For parking of this side greater than 150 spaces, 4% of the total parking must be EV compliant. 8 are required and 9 spaces are proposed. The proposed EV spaces are outlined in green on the site plan rendering. What I will note is, as I noted before, 109 regular parking spaces required. The applicant has provided 199 physical spaces. So we do meet the parking requirements without taking any credits for EV. The EV credit is 1 EV space equals 2 regular parking spaces. I believe there was a comment in one of the professionals' letters regarding whether or not this EV space was a dedicated ADA space. It is not. We do meet the ADA space requirements by themselves, but that EV space has been designed per ADA code. In addition to minimum parking quantity requirements, there are setback requirements. Setbacks to the building, 5 feet is required. 6 feet is provided. That's provided via 6-foot wide sidewalk along the north, east, southern sides of the building. And then you have an extended approximately 24-foot sidewalk on the west side. To the side and rear lot lines, 10 feet is required, 10.5 feet is proposed. And to any street line, 15 feet is required and 15 feet is proposed. And that is along the western side to Plainfield Avenue. Pedestrian access is provided to both Plainfield Avenue and Brunswick Avenue. The Plainfield Avenue sidewalk connection is to the southern side of the driveway. There's a sidewalk that's added. It's a little tough to see on the rendering due to the trees, but on the site plan you could see it better. It comes down to a ramp. There's an ADA compliant crosswalk that leads across, lines up with the ADA space that's here, and then a ramp onto the sidewalk. Access to Brunswick Avenue is to the west side of the driveway, again tying into the existing sidewalk that's out there today, and again additional ADA ramps and crosswalks to provide a compliant path to the building. In accordance with the recommendations we got at our TRC meeting, we did add a sidewalk along Eisenhower Drive. It's about 75 feet down this driveway, and we did end it here. There is an existing T-cross in the sidewalk to the residential development where the sidewalk actually goes in. So that's where we chose to end it. We'll add a ramp here, and then we'll have to add an additional ramp on the opposite side of the street to provide a compliant path across Plainfield Avenue, or Eisenhower Drive. Loading space, there's 1 loading space proposed as part of the development. It's located off the east side of the building. It meets minimum sizing requirements per code. 12 feet by 48 feet is required and proposed. Recycling and refuse. We have 2 trash enclosures proposed as part of the application. 1 off the southwest side of the parking area and 1 off the southeast side of the parking area. Those are surrounded by a 6-foot high chain link fence with privacy slots. Those were added to provide screening to the uses to the south. And in addition, we've added evergreen shrubs, or evergreen trees, to further buffer those enclosures. There are a few signs proposed as part of the development. We have one monument sign, which is located in the northwest corner of the site, on the corner of Plainfield Ave and Brunswick Ave. That is compliant with all code standards. There are a few building monument signs that are included. Those will go into detail by the project architect. What I will note is there is a variance request that the applicant is making for maximum sign height. 20 feet is permitted, whereas 35.5 feet and 38.5 feet are proposed. The proposed improvements will result in the disturbance of more than an acre and an increase in impervious coverage. Therefore, the site is a major development in accordance with township and NJAC 7:8 regulations. We do have an above-ground bioretention basin proposed on the east side of the property, located here. In addition to wetlands in this northeast corner of the site, there is a small portion of a flood hazard area there in that same location. We have submitted this application to DEP, both for wetlands and for flood hazard area individual permit application, and I have received approval, and they approved the stormwater management design as part of that application. Landscaping, we've proposed a robust landscape design, and it surrounds the entirety of the parking areas, in addition to screening along each of the streets. We've heightened additional plantings along Eisenhower Drive, again, to further screen the residential use to the east. There are 184 trees currently proposed and about 300 shrubs. We did receive the comment in Mr. Bignell's letter earlier today, and we have no problem adding the additional trees to be compliant with the tree replacement requirements. And then lastly, for my testimony, I'll hit on lighting. There are 12 pole-mounted lights and 6 building-mounted LED lights that are proposed as part of this application. They've been designed to be in compliance with the township code. In addition, we have designed them so there will be no spillage on Eisenhower Drive. There's a little bit of spillage on the property line, but it does meet code. It's only 0.1 foot candles. But on the road itself, there's no spillage, so no adverse impacts to the residential development. And we have no problem with making those dark sky compliant. With that, that would close my testimony, and happy to answer any questions you guys may have.
Mr. Chairman. Mr. Kaluko, if I may just clarify one point. You've had the opportunity to, obviously, to review Mr. Bignell's report and the report of DNR Engineering.
Yes, I have.
And the applicant will comply with all the recommendations and requirements of those reports, correct?
Yes, they will.
And with regard to the lighting, you said there'll be no spillage. There'll be no what they call sky glow.
Correct.
And we will prepare a snow management plan.
Yes, one's actually been proposed and included with the site plans that were submitted with the township.
I have no other questions of Mr. Kaluko.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Buno.
I may have missed it, but the gentleman asked for variance of sign height and everything. I don't understand why you need to have the signs at those heights. When it was approved as a food store, they were in compliance. Why are we raising the signs?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, it goes in line with how the building is laid out and with the use, but our project architect and our planner can hit on the justification for the
Yeah, I don't, Mr. Chairman, I don't believe that, and I'm not in favor of granting sign variances. They can easily put the signs in according to the ordinance. It's not a major highway going through, so people aren't speeding through there, and there is residential behind, so there's no need to have 38-foot signs over there. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Buno. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Kaluko? Seeing none? Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Call Mr. Horton.
Go ahead and raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
My name is Benjamin Horton, Horten. I'm the principal of Ben Horton Architecture and Design, located at 312 State Route 10, Randolph, New Jersey.
If you could just give us a summary of your background qualifications.
Yes, sir. I received my Bachelor of Fine Arts degree at Carnegie Mellon University, and I received my Master of Architecture degree at Yale University. After graduation, I cut my teeth working for a couple major firms known as Canon Design and Gensler. They were national, international firms. After working with them for many years, I opened my own firm in 2000, and I've been practicing with my own practice since then. So I have over 30 plus years of experience in architecture. I'm licensed in New Jersey, New York, Pennsylvania, as well as many other states up and down the coast.
And your licenses are current and in good standing?
Yes, sir.
Okay, we'll accept you. You may proceed.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Horton, you are the architect who designed this facility.
That's correct.
Could you please briefly describe what you've designed?
Yes. If I may, if I need to point to the board, I have brought a board with the drawings that was submitted. That included a set of architectural drawings as well as a set of renderings. Going through the drawings, I think I'll go to the board and kind of point to the building layout just to get you oriented to the building.
That's fine. You can just bring the microphone with you. Thank you.
The site plan, I think, clearly showed how the building was configured. When we were planning the building, we tried to be careful and sensitive to the fact that to the west of the property, you have the residential neighborhood. And so we tried to design the building to accommodate the parking that was required by the ordinance and then come out with a building that would work for the client. The building consists of, it's a two-story building, and as you can see by the side orientation, it's a long bar, and it's 2 stories in height. What's happening on the inside is that we're gonna have 2 very specific uses that we already planned for the building, which includes a rock climbing facility and a badminton facility. And then there's some remaining spaces that's gonna be designed as open speculative retail space. We don't have any tenants for those spaces, but I will kind of explain where the uses would be located. The first drawing is A2.01, which is the first floor plan. I color-coded those, and you have the drawings that was submitted. In the light blue colors, located at the left side of the plan and the right side of the plan, those are going to be future retail spaces. We don't have any tenants for those yet. The unit's noted as retail A is about 4,900 square foot and change. The retail B, which is the unit towards the right of the plan, is about 8,434 square foot. And then the purple space in the middle is going to be the rock climbing facility. The rock climbing facility is going to be 2-story in height. I don't know if you've been to rock climbing, but they have a section of the space that needs to be double height space that has the large rock climbing facility that would go up 2 stories plus. And that's really one of the large drivers for our height request. In the darker purple area, that space is actually an open volume that's going to be open from the ground floor to the bottom of the roof structure, and that's where we're going to have the primary rock climbing facility there. The lighter color spaces are going to be the offices and amenity spaces, things like bathrooms that'll be located there underneath the mezzanine at the 2nd floor level. The light blue spaces, the retail space, that's a 1-story, and there's another floor on top of those areas. Let me go to the 2nd page to explain what's going on there. So if I go to the next sheet, which is A2.02, this is a 2nd floor plan. And so on the left side, you see in purple, again, kind of going with the purple of the rock climbing on the 1st floor. This would be the 2nd floor level for the rock climbing facility. You could see that towards the front of the building, it kind of sits over that 1-story retail space. And we have secondary mezzanine space where there's additional lower height rock climbing facilities there, whereas the white area that's noted as open to below, that's that double height space that I explained. That's where the taller rock climbing uses would be located. The other use that we're going to, we actually have a use for day one is badminton courts. That's colored in green. And you could see there's several badminton courts as well as pickleball courts. So it's a combination of badminton and pickleball. So that second floor, second floor area is going to be for badminton. As you know, badminton is a sport, and it also needs a height for the facility. So when we were talking about the building heights, originally we were trying to go for a taller building, slightly taller than what we had, but we really went back and forth with the franchise as well as the operators to discuss the building height. We understand that we're asking for a variance, and we did look at the inside and come up with ways to lower it as much as possible. So we did lower than what we originally wanted, but we are still requesting a height variance because primary driver is the rock climbing facility and the badminton courts, which requires a height. So when we organized it, the real height driver was the rock climbing, and when we did the badminton, because we need the height for that too, we kept it at that same level. Now, I'll kind of walk you through the elevation, and I think the rendering kind of speaks for itself in terms of what the building's going to look like. The badminton court actually has near the stair here in the middle of the building, the stair is going to continue up to a small mezzanine, so that little plan insert at the top of the page is a small plan insert that would be on top of the stairs there. So you could continue going up the stairs to a mezzanine level, so you could sit there and kind of watch people playing. You know, it's very small. That mezzanine is only about 300 and change square feet, but it's just an extra space that people could go up and watch people play and hang out a little bit. The elevation drawings, I hope I could kind of convey the idea behind the elevation and why we're asking for the sign variance. This is the elevation, which is the north face, which is facing Brunswick Avenue and not the residence. Again, when you looked at the site plan, the side of the building that faces the residential property, we try to make it as small as possible with minimal impact. The side that faces Brunswick Avenue, it's very visible, obviously, from Brunswick Avenue, but that side would be also fairly visible as you're coming down Plainfield Avenue. I think it's a very visible part of the building because as you go up and down the highway, that's the side of the building that you'll see the most. And again, I'd like to kind of take you to the rendering to kind of explain the size request. But basically, in the north elevation, up on the upper part of the building, that's the two-story portion of the rock climbing, we're requesting a sign to be located just near closer to the Plainfield Avenue side of the building. And then at the entrance where the badminton court would be, where this stair going up to the elevator to the second floor. In that second floor section of the building there, closer again, we try to bring it more towards the middle of the building, which is where the badminton court kind of starts. We're requesting putting a little sign there. Sign size-wise, they're well under your ordinance requirement. And we did try to be cognizant that we are asking for a height variance, but we try to size it in a way it doesn't look too large on the facade. We try to keep it tasteful, and again, the size itself is well under the ordinance size requirement, but we are requesting a height variance because of the fact that it is these functions are located on the second floor, and we thought that these large blank areas of the wall would be a great spot to kind of put that sign. And again, I think the rendering is going to kind of tell a better story than these elevations, which are more technical. The A4.02 is the showing the south elevation and then the east elevation. Again, the east elevation, as you can see, is the smallest part of the building. That's the side that's going to face the residential properties that are there. And on those sides, we didn't put any signs, and we also try to have minimal impact on the residential side by not putting any windows on that side. We do have windows for the badminton courts on the second floor level, as you can see in the south and the north elevation. We try to put those windows at a lower height so that on days when we could have some cross ventilation, we could open up those windows for cross ventilation and a little bit of natural light. We didn't want to do too many windows because when you're playing badminton, the concern was that too much light would kind of interfere with the shuttlecocks that you're hitting inside. When it came to rock climbing facility, you can see we took care to create this kind of like what I would call like a translucent kind of glass panels that are going to provide nice natural light into the interior side, but also create this nice aesthetic appearance to the main street facades, which is the Plainfield Avenue. Again, I will take you through the rendering. The last sheet that was submitted is A5.01, which is showing the freestanding sign. Again, the freestanding sign is compliant. It meets all the ordinance requirement and size requirement. And the idea is that your typical shopping center sign, it would have placeholders for the various future tenants that we might get. We're going to have the 2 day 1 uses, the badminton court and the rock climbing facility spaces, and then we have additional spaces for potentially future tenants. Now, with that said, I'd like to take you through the rendering. Oh, 20 feet high. Yep.
Through you, Mr. Chairman, the only variances for height are on the building, they're only facade signs, not the...
That's correct, sir.
Okay.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. And I think this elevation, I think, tells the story a little bit better than the technical drawings do. Now, these were all provided to you as a handout. There were 16 renderings, and what we try to do when we do the renderings, we try to show you one view without the trees turned on, and then we turned on the trees so you could see what the impact of all the trees that we added to the perimeter. This first view is showing the Brunswick Avenue side, which is the broad side. So you can imagine if you're coming from north in a southerly direction, that facade would be visible. The rock climbing is the gravity vault. It's a franchise. It started to gain some real strength, recognition. A lot of these franchises have been very successful, and the client felt that this Edison would be a great home for this business, and they're really excited about getting this going. And the gravity vault has an interesting logo, which is like a mountain with what seems like a circular sun shape, and then it says the gravity vault. And the sign is well under the ordinance, and I think you could see it's located in that front right corner next to the large window there. Again, it's to take on that spot. I think size-wise, we try to keep it tasteful, not too large, but just big enough that it's visible. The badminton tenant sign, they don't have a logo yet. But we show an area, sign area, located on the second floor level. Again, relative to the building height, I think we try to locate it in a tasteful manner and keep the size where it's reasonable. So that's why we are requesting the variance for those 2 signs. All the other tenant signs we showed, obviously, we're not going to have all those signs. We're just, we wanted to show the board that potentially, depending on where we get the tenant, we may put 1 or 2 signs there, depending on how many subdivision of tenants we get. All those signs, again, we wanted to show it to you that when you added them all up, they still meet your ordinance requirement in terms of the size of the sign and the quantity. I think as you go through the rendering, if you look at that Brunswick Avenue, and then once we get the landscaping in there with the trees, it starts to create a nice atmosphere. I think, with shopping centers, I think the engineering team did a great job with all the landscaping, with the suggestion of adding some additional landscaping. I think it would be a big asset, because I think having a retail complex that where the building looks nice, but it's enhanced by the landscaping, that's even better, and that's what we focused on. As I go through each of these views, there's quite a few. I think, you could see this, this is the entrance on Brunswick Avenue. You start to see the, kind of in that north-east side of the building. Again, you'll see that with the some of the trees added. As you add the trees, some of the views of the building kind of starts to become minimized. And certainly from that side, as the trees grow, the signs are going to be less impactful. I think this is the more the Brunswick Plainfield side view as you're coming down from north in a southerly direction. You'll see that front corner, and you can see that's where we're locating the Gravity Vault sign and the badminton sign. And again, they're a second floor tenant. We felt that would give them a little bit better presence on the main road, but not so much on the residential side.
So Mr. Horton, in essence, you've designed this to make it look as good as possible at this site with as little intrusion toward the residential properties.
That's correct. And if I may, I'm just going to, I think you all have the handouts, but I'm going to skip, put the mic down because there's a lot of pages, but I want to skip to the side, the west side, that's the side facing the residential side. Now the last two renderings, and if you refer to that, this is the Eisenhower Drive or the southeast facade. The east side is the short side of the building, and as you can see, we showed this without the trees, and you're seeing the short side of the building. But as you see the trees coming in, and as they grow in, a lot of the view, I think, would be minimized because of the trees and the fact that you're seeing the shorter end of the building. Again, the next elevation, next rendering that you look at, if you look at it without the trees, you can see, again, you're just seeing the short side of the building with no signage. And then when you add the trees in, it starts to make the building pretty much disappear. So we thought about the impact on the residential neighbor. We did try to put a lot of trees there, but as it relates to the facade sign, I think where we located makes sense. Because it's really meant to be seen from mostly from Brunswick and the Plainfield side of the road.
Right, and Mr. Horton, you've had an opportunity to review the reports of Mr. Bignell and DNR Engineering.
Yes, I did.
And the applicant is willing to go along with whatever recommendations and requirements they've set forth, correct?
That's correct.
Right. I have no other questions of Mr. Horton.
Thank you. Does the board have any questions of Mr. Horton? Seeing none. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I'd like to call Connor Hughes. Mr. Hughes is being offered as a traffic engineer.
Raise your right hand. Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth, so help you God?
Yes, I do.
And please state your full name for the record.
Connor Hughes, Hughes.
If you could just give me a summary of your qualifications, please.
Yes, I'm a professional engineer in the state of New Jersey, licenses in good standing. I've been accepted as an expert witness in traffic engineering at various other boards in the state. And I have a Bachelor's of Science in Civil Engineering from NJIT as of 2017, since which time I've prepared hundreds of traffic studies for various commercial, residential, industrial types of uses.
And your license are current and in good standing?
Yes, it is.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Mr. Hughes, you've been retained by the applicant to give testimony as to the adequacy for traffic purposes of this project, correct?
Yes, that's correct.
And knowing that we more than meet the parking requirements, could you please just very briefly tell the board your opinion as to the adequacy of this project in terms of traffic?
Certainly. So yeah, as mentioned, parking is met in terms of the ordinance requirements, so I'll skip right over those parts. I'll go right into the traffic generation and the resulting analyses. So in order to first look at our existing conditions, we looked at the intersections of Plainfield Avenue and Brunswick Avenue, as well as Brunswick Avenue and Eisenhower Drive. Since they're both directly adjacent to the site, are going to handle the most amount of our site traffic. So we established our existing conditions there based on some previous counts that we had and isolated the highest peak hour during the weekday PM peak hour and Saturday midday peak hour, since those would be the peak periods of the proposed use. So once we have those existing conditions established, we look into the future. First part of that is looking at the no-build conditions, looking at background growth rates based on published percentages by New Jersey DOT, as well as any adjacent developments. So those background growths account for any growth in the area, other developments, things of that nature. And then once we have that as kind of like our future baseline, we look at the ITE trip generation in this case, which during those particular peak hours that I mentioned, the weekday PM and the Saturday midday. During that PM peak hour, ITE projects 168 total trips, which includes 82 in and 86 out. And during the Saturday, they project 159 trips, 78 in and 81 out. And just as a point of comparison, the previous approval for the Lidl, that's about half of the amount that would be projected by a supermarket of that size. So just to kind of put those numbers into perspective in terms of this new application. And those numbers are also somewhat conservative since they don't account for any internal interaction between the different uses that are going to be on the site, the recreational and the retail interaction. It might be minor, but there will be some of that, as well as any pass-by associated with the retail, which is cars already driving along the road that may dive off to visit any of the new uses. So once we have those trips established, what we did is compare those no-build to the build volumes just to see those differences. And what we found is that those levels of service at the study intersections are operating the same with or without the addition of the site traffic. So there's really effectively no change in the operating conditions at either of those intersections. And the site driveways will also operate at acceptable levels based on those parameters. So that's really the gist of it. And if you have any questions, I'll be happy to go into more detail.
Thank you very much. Does the board have any questions for Mr. Hughes?
Mr. Chairman?
Vice Chairman?
Yeah, leaving, going on to Plainfield Avenue, you can only make a right?
Correct. Yeah, only right turns in or out. So if you want to get back to southbound Plainfield Avenue, you'd have to take the left out of our driveway on Brunswick and make the left at the signal.
So what's going to stop someone from making a left?
Well, right now, as we have it proposed, there's a physical island in the middle there to guide drivers to make that right-hand turn. There will be signage posted indicating as such, no left turns.
Well, other than the signage, what's going to stop someone from making a left?
If people really want to make the left that badly, they can, they will. It's essentially a police issue to handle that type of situation, but it's going to be designed in such a way to put the idea in their heads that they're not supposed to go left, that the idea of it is you're going to have to go right.
So you're going to design it so they can,
So there's gonna be a right turn island.
Right,
So there's gonna be an island, so it's gonna literally be almost like a barricade, so as to force the
Right.
traffic to the right rather than to the left.
Right, so the island's gonna be designed in such a way that it flows to the right-hand side to guide those drivers to make that right-hand turn. It's a
Right.
physical
Thank you.
island.
Any other questions for Mr. Hughes?
Mr. Chairman?
Oh,
I'm sorry.
The biggest concern I have is the people making left on Brunswick Avenue.
Okay,
That distance is such a short from the traffic light.
okay.
If the cars are coming speeding on that avenue, how would they make a left?
Taking a left onto Brunswick from the site you're talking
Yeah.
about, right? If there is a queue of cars there, that there is a median there. If they really needed to, they could stage in that median before.
It would be a
finding
blind
gap.
corner there,
Where? In that
to
median area?
making left from Brunswick Avenue, people to go make left on Brunswick.
Right. So you also have the traffic light, which helps to meter it. So if there's a steady flow of cars, they can wait until that traffic light changes and stops the traffic from turning right or left.
There's
They'll
a
be able to
two-way
make
tra-
their turn then.
There's a two-way traffic there with the islands there in between.
Right.
The island has trees, so people coming on New Brunswick Avenue going towards the playing field will not be visible for the guys who's making left on there.
So you're saying looking to the
Yeah,
right? To the right.
correct.
Gotcha.
Those trees are coming in their vision. They will not be able to see.
Right. So, like I said, there's a median area where you can essentially do, it's like a two-step turn where you pull out of the site, sit in that median area. From that point, you would be able to see down
There
further
is
to the
not
right
enough to.
and make
to-
that left turn.
There's not enough room there for median to accommodate the car there. If the car comes out this way, there's not enough room there. It's not wide enough. You will have to redesign that island, remove those trees so that people can see when they make left turn there. Those islands need to be redesigned.
Yeah, so I'm looking at the median now. So the median's probably about 12 feet or so, give or take. So, yeah, the length of a car, will it fit the entire car? Probably not. You're right. But again, there would be some space there if they had to. And we can certainly look into working out those trees if we have to trim them in any way or, make sure that in one way or another, we can make sure that that's visible, that they'll have the proper
You
visibility.
agree to redesign those islands to make sure that
Well, there's,
incoming traffic from Brunswick Avenue going towards the playing field would be visible for the cars coming out of the parking lot on Brunswick Ave.
currently, there's no proposal, but we can certainly work with the township to come up with a solution.
That will be part of the condition as well. You need to make sure that the cars are visible.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Mr. Stubby. Mr. Boudin, you would chime in?
Yeah, I was just going to mention Title 39 for the enforcement of those movements on and off that property, so the police have the power. And then secondly, to follow Mr. Davies, we were just looking at the plan. There's a site triangle there, and if he crosses the one line of traffic, there's a space where he can sit in between the road. It's wide enough for a car to make the next turn, but we can work out whatever details you're looking for.
And Mr. Chair, you agree to comply? with that?
Absolutely.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Any other questions for Mr. Hughes? All right, seeing none.
I'll call Matt Flynn.
It's actually John McDonough.
Yeah, I was gonna say, boy, I know I haven't seen you in a while. I didn't realize you changed your name. Like,
Matt got really old.
Do you solemnly swear or affirm to tell the whole truth, nothing but the truth to help you God?
Yes, I do.
And state your full name, please.
Sure. Hi, everyone. My name is John McDonough, MC capital DONOUGH. I'm the project planner.
And Mr. McDonough, you could just give it, please. I know you've been here before. Just give a brief summary of your qualifications.
Sure. Licensed professional planner, state of New Jersey, current and in good standing. Also nationally certified AICP, also current and in good standing. I've been here before.
Yes, you have. You may proceed. Thank you very much. We'll accept you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. McDonough, sorry about the name.
No, I snuck up behind you. It's okay.
You have been retained by the applicant to give planning testimony regarding this project, correct?
Yes, I have.
And you have heard all the testimony given this evening, and you're familiar with all the plans and proposals.
Yes, I am.
Could you please give us the benefit of your opinions regarding the planning?
Sure, I am
aspect?
very familiar with this site, with the surrounding area. I was the planner on the Lidl application 2 or 3 years ago, and I will say when I stood here last time, there were as many people in the room for the Lidl application as there were for the first application you had tonight. So the fact that we're generally looking at an empty room, I think, speaks volumes about the application that's now before you. This application has been a long time coming. Our applicant and our applicant team have done a great job in delivering a permitted use here that is actually a fun use. It's going to go towards your core planning goals for having livable and healthy communities, and that's exactly what this land use will deliver. It does require some relief, but for the most part aligns very nicely with the requirements of your GB General Business District. The overall setbacks are extremely generous here in terms of what the zone would require. You've got conformance with building coverage, conformance with lot coverage, and a lot of those heavier bulk controls are met here. The applicant is asking the board to move on both D4 and interrelated D6 relief related to the height of the building and the overall floor area of the building. Those are controls that typically relate to intensity of use, but in this particular circumstance, we're looking at more spatial requirement inherent to the nature of the use as opposed to the overall activity or population that would come to the particular site. So where we are looking for relief related to height and related to floor area, we're not necessarily triggering intense population density or activity or traffic on the site, as you just heard through the witnesses before me. The proposal is for permitted use for retail and a health club facility with a rock climbing and a badminton component as well, which responds to demand and, as I said, is actually a fun, refreshing land use here in the context of your general business district. This project as a whole are going to advance multiple purposes of zoning in the land use law, including Purpose A, the promotion of the general welfare, again, delivering a permitted use, a recreational use, a use that will advance healthy and livable communities. Additionally, the planning goal for efficient use of land, that's Purpose M, because it will activate an underutilized, unproductive commercial land that has remained stagnant for too long, and this will reverse that longstanding stagnation. Additionally, the project is going to advance Purpose I, the planning goal for a desirable visual environment. We've got an attractive centerpiece building that Ben just showed you, and then we've got the landscape element that's going to wrap around it to nicely frame and blend that building into the natural landscape. And then lastly, the advancement of Purpose G, our planning goal to provide for a variety of uses in appropriate locations according to the needs of all New Jersey citizens. This is a nice, somewhat different type of commercial or non-residential use, a retail type use, and we think it will certainly be fresh in the public eye at this location. Counterbalancing that with the negative criteria, we turn to both the D4 and the D6 as interrelated here, which are massing controls, generally intensity of use controls, which, as you've heard through the witnesses before me, is not what this particular relief is going to generate here. The relief, as I said, relates more to airspace than to intensity of use. Certain land uses require a vertical element to them, and this happens to be one of those. If a rock climbing facility did not have height, it would not effectuate its purpose. When we look at the purposes of height control in the Grasso case, none of them are being violated here. As I said, the additional height does not equate to additional population density or additional traffic. This additional height, given the extreme setbacks from the property perimeter, which is more than double or triple what the zoning would require, will not create any negative shadow effects on neighboring properties, will not create an obtrusive, imposing structure in the landscape, and certainly will not exceed the carrying capacity of the land in terms of parking, in terms of population, traffic, water, sewer, demand, and the like. So based on all of that, we believe that relief can be granted under both the D4 and the D6 without violating any of the purposes of zoning, without creating any substantially adverse impacts on the public or substantial impairment to the intent and purpose of your zone plan and ordinance. Folding into that, subsidiary to the D relief, we've got the interrelated sign relief, which, as you've heard, does not relate to the freestanding signs. They are going to comply, but really to the signs that will be embedded within the architectural framework and nicely fit and nicely integrate as those visuals showed you. So it all lends itself to one nice package. We're supposed to consider applications as a whole, and we think the extreme positives here of a permitted use of a reactivation of vacant, underutilized land substantially outweigh any detriments. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I would offer the criteria for relief are met, the applicant has met its burden under the law, and approval is warranted here. And that's all I have on direct.
Thank you, Mr. McDonough. Does the board have any questions for Mr. McDonough? I just have one question. So with regard to the proposed retail use, the board would maintain, you'd agree that the board would maintain jurisdiction for any tenants coming in? Because I mean, we don't have any information as to, what would be contained within that retail.
Absolutely.
Okay, thank you very much. All right, board have any questions for Mr.
Title 39, Mr. Chairman?
I think we got them on earlier on.
Did they agree to that, though?
Yeah.
As a condition?
Shah, you
Yes.
would agree to Title 29?
Yes,
Yep.
we do.
Okay,
right.
thank you.
Thank you. All right. Ms. Shah?
That's the applicant's case. I believe we've set forth a really good project, one that's needed. There was just an article in the Home News about the problem with overweight in the state of New Jersey in the various counties, and recreational facilities are certainly something, as Mr. McDonough mentioned, that will be a help, not a hindrance. Thank you.
All right. Is there anyone from within 200 feet of subject property wanting to be heard? If you were within 200 feet, you received a letter via certified mail. Seeing none, anyone from outside of 200 feet of subject property wanting to be heard? Seeing none, can I get a motion to close the public portion?
Motion to close public portion.
Second.
Motion made by Vice Chairman O'Gorman, seconded by Mr. Patel. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Public portion is now closed, and I'll go to the board.
Mr. Chairman,
Mr. Dave.
I make a motion to approve this application. The applicant has met all the negative and positive criteria. The site is particularly suited for the use intended. The use is not detriment to the public good or public safety. With the following conditions, the facade sign and the freestanding sign will not be more than 20 feet in height. No sky globe will be created from the project. All the rooftop units shall be screened from the public view. And all the previous approvals for this site will be abandoned with approval of this application.
Mr. Chairman, before you
Mr. Bidell?
second that, I have, when he explained to me the signage, I didn't want to see the freestanding sign higher than 20 feet, but I really have no objection to them raising the sign on the building, so that doesn't bother Mr. Davies. I would have no problem to granting that variance.
Mr. Dave, would you amend the motion?
So you said the facade sign can be higher?
Yeah, can it be higher?
Up
Just
to
yeah.
30 feet?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
All right.
I amend that. The facade sign can be up to 30 feet high.
Okay.
Second.
Wait, I'm just, hang on one second, before I take your second. I'm just going to add that they will have agreed to the conditions of the board professionals' reports. They will agree to Title 29, and the board will maintain jurisdiction for any future retail use on the site. Mr. Abe, were you good? Did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I'm going to read it, but also, I did not see any Edison Township Fire and Police Department and the water and sewer connection permit and kind of stuff. You're going to get it, right?
Yes, sir.
Okay. This motion will incorporate all of the testimony of the applicant, attorney, planners, engineers, and members of the board, as well as incorporation of all the conditions and what is to be done and not to be done at the site as intended. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Second.
Motion made by Mr. Dave, second by Mr. Patel. Roll call, please.
Mr. Barone?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Chabra?
Yes to the motion.
Mr. Patel?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. DeVay?
Yes on the motion.
Mr. Sadaha?
Yes on the motion.
Vice Chair O'Gorman?
No on the motion.
And Chairman Kamba?
I vote yes on the motion. I believe that the development on this site has been a long time coming, and I think that this would be a great use for the site. And you're approved 6-1. Congratulations.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate you all staying.
Thank you. Is there any other business come before the board?
That'll be all.
Yes.
Okay, seeing none, can I get a motion to, can I get a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Motion made by Mr. Patel, second by Mr. Barone. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Board stands adjourned. Thank you, everyone. Hey, Hank, I'm not going to be at TRC.